prompted him to write a book, Build and Sustain a Career in Engineering, which will be discussed today itself. May I now would like to call upon Dr. Chatterjee sir to enlighten all of us about the theme of this webinar.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much. It is an honor and a pleasure for me to get this chance to interact with so many students, and maybe even one or two faculty members if they are interested. So, in order to reduce the risk of data connectivity problems, I have actually prepared three videos where they are very low data, not a lot of movement. So there is only a slide and a voiceover to AICTE, director and so on, and they will play the video, but I will be here, right? And then after that, if there are questions and discussions, I will still be here. Then we will have some further brief interaction. Then again, next video will be played. In this way, it will be safer. And I hope you will not mind this interaction. Ideally, we would meet face to face, but the world right now is difficult. It is not easy for us to meet face to face. But it is a fabulous opportunity for me because many of you are scattered all over the country. And that is a huge opportunity for me. So once again, thank you very much. Madam, you may play the first video. I will mute myself and stop my video so that the data requirements are lower, but I will be here listening. And if there are questions, you can let me know. Is that all right?
Yes, sir. We are sharing, sir.
For inviting me to this webinar. Based on discussions with them, I have decided to focus on three themes: careers, research, and projects. My name is Anindya Chatterjee, sometimes Anindya Chatterjee, also is fine. I'm a professor in mechanical engineering at IIT Kanpur. If you look for my webpage, you will find it in case you want to see details about my students or research. Now, the first part of today's sessions, the first session is a discussion on this book called Build and Sustain a Career in Engineering. This was written by me last year, published by Notion Press. Why did I write this book is the first question. So there's a company called Career Launcher. You can see their logo here. In 2017, they held an event called Melting Pot 2020, and they invited me, that's me here, to give a talk on careers for the next generation. So after that, I started thinking seriously about this, and I used to talk about it with various people until in 2020, my wife, who is very practical, she told me, stop talking about it and write a book. And so I wrote the book. Here is the book. It is available on Amazon and other, maybe Flipkart and one or two other places. And the price is from 207 upwards. But from Notion Press with a coupon code, it is 150 plus shipping. This is also plus shipping. You can read the reviews on the book. You don't have to buy the book. In case you buy, you can use the coupon code and it will be a bit cheaper. So I will discuss some topics from the book here today. There is not enough time to discuss everything. So I'll discuss some basics and some highlights. Let us begin with the demographics of India. The population is more than 1.3 billion. The median age is 25. So median means 50%, you see. So 650 million people are under age 25. If you divide 650 million by 25 years, then you get 26 million per year, and the population is uniformly distributed below age 25. These two things mean that we have approximately 26 million 18-year-olds. Please note that that is more than all the people in Australia. But we have another 26 million 19-year-olds, and we have another 26 million 20-year-olds, and so on. So there's a very large number of young people, and they have to earn their living, support their families, and so on. And this is a problem in India that is going to become very important over the next 20-25 years. You are in an AICTE affiliated college, so you could have been maybe a little better off, but you realize that you are already better off than many of these 26 million people who are your age. However, you still have challenges, and that is what I'm going to be discussing today. Here is a picture. I would like you to look at this picture. Imagine a long wall with many doors and people standing in line outside. This person here is trying to figure out which line he has to join, which queue. What does this picture represent? This is the picture I got in my head when some years ago the Indian Railways announced 1.2 lakh jobs and 2.4 crore people applied. If you like millions, then this is 0.12 millions and 24 million. Okay, this is 200x. This means, for example, if there is one door along every meter of the wall, at some point the door will open and one out of these 200 will be allowed to get in. This wall is 120 kilometers long because it is 1.2 lakh meters long. If you get in a car and drive from one end of the wall to the other, it will take you 2 hours. This is a picture of unemployment in India. And it is not going to get better because we have a very large number of young people who are going to be looking for jobs over the next 20 years. What are the implications? It may be hard to get a job in the first place. And if you get a job, wages may be low. Why? Many unemployed younger people are behind you. You see, if younger people can do your work for less money, then you may get laid off. If artificial intelligence or machine learning can do your work for less money, you may get laid off, right? You must build and sustain a career. Sustaining a career means having a career that survives for many years. This is a long-term goal, and therefore, right from the beginning, from your stage of life, I favor long-term thinking. Some things are naturally shared, like road space. So you see, here is this road, 4 people, some more people come and they share the space. That's how it is on roads. But jobs are not shared. See, here there are 3 jobs and 5 people. These 2 people did not get jobs. These 3 people got jobs. But what happens is these 2 people, they have children, they have homes to support. So what will they say? They can't say, okay, I'll work next year. This year their children are hungry. This year their rent has to be paid. They will say, we will take less money. The moment they say that, these people also will see a drop in their salaries or they will be laid off. The converse can happen when there is a lot of work and there are few workers. So suppose there are employers, they have a chance to make money, but only 3 qualified employees are there. Employer is running a loss because he is not able to make the profit he could have made if he had an employee. What will he say? We will say we will pay more money. This guy may come here. This person will have to pay more money. In this way, very soon, everyone's salaries will go up. Okay, so this job-wise, skill-wise, right, there is a very strong reaction to a relative excess or shortage of workers in proportion to the amount of work available. This idea in my book I have discussed using this picture. This picture is from the book. This, I call it the wage rate pyramid. At the top of the pyramid, there are few people getting a high wage. At the bottom, there are many people getting a low wage. This is skill by skill. Every skill is some layer here. Every type of job, maybe you're a heart surgeon, you're somewhere here. Maybe you're a Java programmer, then you're somewhere, and so on. Okay. Now, people from the bottom, they want to climb up by acquiring education or training. But when too many people appear here, the wage rate goes down. Everybody's salary goes down. Okay. The salary goes up only if new work enters the economy and there is a relative shortage of workers. Then wage rates for that work will rise. Okay. So think of the Indian IT boom. Most of you may be too young to remember the Indian IT boom, but it started after I graduated from college, so I saw it. Starting salaries in basic IT jobs became quite high, but after some time they stopped rising. For the last 10 years or more, starting salaries in basic IT jobs are at about 3 lakhs per annum. They are not increasing. But meanwhile, there is inflation. This means the salary is going down. Okay. Hiring companies have also moved down the list of colleges. So companies hiring for basic IT jobs used to go to higher companies. Now they have come to higher level colleges or higher ranked colleges. Now they have come to second tier, then slowly third tier colleges. This is how the wage rate pyramid works. Good enough employees have arrived faster than new opportunities. Why good enough? Companies are not interested in the best. They are interested in people who are good enough to do the job. That is there. Companies that hire in large numbers. Right? Okay. It happens in other places too. Let me give you this example. This data is from the US. Data is from 1948 till 2013. It is actually, I have a source. If you ask, I will send it at some point. But this is a well known graph in the US. And you will see that since 1948, in some percentage change, productivity has gone steadily up. But in 1973, something happened. Basically, the number of people looking for jobs increased, and then after that, Chinese imports started, then Indian IT imports started, and so on. I mean, India was importing IT work, they were exporting. So in this way, the wages are nearly flat. Okay, so you can. This is a national aggregate for median income. Okay, so you can see the wage rate pyramid works everywhere. In the same context, let us talk about Indian demographics, which I showed you a little bit earlier. That picture, the one I showed you earlier, or that those numbers represent this blue curve. What is the vertical axis? That 26 I've written as 25. 25 million people per year. So 20-year-olds, that means between age 20 and 21. So we will call them all 20-year-olds. There are 25 million people. And if you are 20 years old, then you are here on this line. I've just put you at the top because you're on the curve. Then 30-year-olds, somewhere here, approximately this much, slightly less than 25, and so on. I am here somewhere. Okay, this blue curve. This is the Indian population density or distribution today. 25 years later, my population of 55-year-olds, they will not move horizontally. Many will die. Okay, so many will die. This many will be alive. Okay, so numbers will shrink. But you, if you are 20 now, you will be 45 after 25 years. Most of you will still be alive. As a result, your movement is going to be horizontal. So this is you today on the blue curve. This is you 25 years from now on this magenta curve. What is this rectangle? This rectangle has 25 years into 25 million per year. That is 625 million people. These people will take your work or take your job if they can. Agreed? Yes. How is that different from my situation? Why should you be more concerned than I was or I am? The reason is this. Today, by the time you reach there, you see all of these people, they will all have had phones. They will all have had nearly free internet access. In a world where knowledge is free, many colleges have opened. Degree holders are many. So they have some degree, they have knowledge, and it is easy for them to learn, and they are in very large number, they are competitive. Okay, so this rectangle is a matter of concern for your generation. It is not here yet because you are still here, but it will come. It will be there by the time you're 45. Let's talk about a somewhat related matter, which I call annual coin tossing. Think of it as a game. Now, coin tossing is a random experiment. What that means is that the outcome is not known in advance. Coins have 50-50 for heads or tails, but I am using coin tossing here as just a label for some other random experiment where success is less likely. So suppose you have to prepare for one whole year, and at the end of the year you get to toss the coin. Okay, so that you get to do a random experiment. Random because the outcome is not known. Okay, the population's probability of success is 1 in 1,000. That means if 10,000 people play, approximately 10 will succeed. If 1 lakh people play, approximately approximately 100 will succeed, approximately. So that's the population's probability of success. You don't know what your own probability of success is. Some people will succeed, some people will not succeed. Okay. Success means big benefits. Failure means 1 year lost. This year is lost. Okay. How many times should you try? Well, obviously you can't try 100 times because you'll be dead, right? And if you don't try, then you don't know. But maybe you will try. If you try, how many times? Okay. So many people try 3 to 5 times and stop. Most of the people who try 3 to 5 times, most of them don't succeed. What should they do next? This is one of the chapters in my book, and you may think it is a funny thing to be talking about, but actually, this is the story of UPSC exams. People want to be IAS officers. Every year, approximately 1 million people try, and approximately 1,000 people succeed. You see, so 1 in 1,000. Out of every 1,000, 999 people do not succeed. Yet they keep trying. They spend 1 million man years of effort and year because of this. That is why this picture is important. This is unemployment in India. Why am I telling you all this? I'm telling you this because if you do not face facts, how can you prepare for your future? To prepare for your future, you must face facts. I want to give you the data and the facts and the interpretation which everybody has, but which very few are facing. Okay? People say things like this. They say 80% of engineers in India are unemployable. They say this. And I always feel strange when people say that, because if all these engineers become employable, will you hire them? Where are the jobs? Think of what will happen in the wage rate pyramid. Infosys, such a big company, has only 2.5 lakh people. Meanwhile, we have 26 lakh 18-year-olds. If I make them all employable, I will need 10 full Infosys companies per year. We don't have that. We don't have that. If everybody in India is an MBBS, what will happen to doctors' fees? You think about it, right? So this is the context in which you have to plan for your future. The question is, if things are so bad, why not give person? And now I am depressed. Why should I not give up? I'll say, don't give up, because even in that, some people will do well, and you can be that person. You can try. You will do better if you try than if you don't. Typical people do not see very far. You can be different. You can see far and plan for a long game. See, most people do not work very hard. Now you will think I'm just being critical, but you look at it. If you know the result of every IPL match and the name of every Bollywood star, then are you really working very hard? You think about it. Many people may be doing this. It's okay. But a few people are not. And you are still young enough so that you can choose which one you want to be. They scatter their attention and lose focus. For example, even if the phone is not ringing, you may say that you will pick up your phone 30 times a day. Or you may put your phone in one room and go to another room and say, I will only come back after 4 hours unless the phone rings. Right? So they are in a hurry. You see, they say, after BTech, what is my starting salary? They say things like that. But the point is, if you build something quickly, others will copy it quickly. Right? If there are many people who are trying to copy, some people will succeed. Right? The final thing is that even if it is very bad, you don't give up because you need only one career. You don't need millions of careers. The country needs millions of careers, but you don't. You need only one. Let the country face its million problems. You face one problem. Right? Of course, even if you listen to me and use my strategy, or you find some other strategy, or whatever you do, success is not guaranteed, not for everybody, but you can improve your chances. Okay? So one thing you do is you learn more, you learn it better, you think clearly, you connect topics. These are deep things. I will discuss them a little bit more in the rest of this talk, but I have discussed it at great length in the book. Okay? So use the next 10 years. Really, this is where the difference will occur. See, if some people waste these years and you don't, You spend it learning more, learning it better, thinking clearly, and connecting topics. Then 10 years later, your graph will be like this and their graph is still like this. You see, then they cannot catch you because you will proceed like that and they can only begin like this and they will be far behind you. I hope you can understand one graph like this and one graph like this if you can see my cursor. Okay, so if others waste these years, they cannot catch you statistically. A few may, but most of them won't. You must learn how to connect your classroom learning to the world. Facts are everywhere. Google gives you so much information. There are facts in other places also. Connections need practice. Okay, that you have to learn, and it's a slow process. Okay, prepare properly for interviews, understand what employers want. There are many books on this, but I have also discussed it in my book. Prepare mentally for a long journey. Maybe even prepare for failure. For some years, things may not go very well. Okay, build a reputation for ability and reliability. I really think personally, I believe that this is very important. So if you work for a company, seniors in that company, when they have work that is important to them, they should look for you and give you that work. They should trust you. What happens? You get more experience, you get more confidence. You may think that you will look at successful people and do what they did. That is what I mean by copying. I don't mean cheating, but trying to adopt the strategies of successful people. This approach suffers from a dangerous mistake called survivor bias. Let me explain. Suppose you talk to CEOs of some successful companies and ask them the secret of the success of those companies. And suppose they say some blah blah, they say two things, A and B. So maybe they will say, we took risks and we were not afraid to change our product. Let's something, they say. Okay. Now the point is, oh, you think that's the best plan because they became successful. But they may just be their opinions. Maybe they succeeded because just around that time Chinese imports had not yet come. Maybe they succeeded because it was just after the Indo-Pakistan war and some issue was there. Maybe they succeeded because the tax law was different at that time. Right? We don't know. Okay, so we don't know. Just because they are saying A and B were the reasons, they may not be the real reasons. That's the first problem. The other problem is that many other companies may have done exactly A and B and still failed. Those companies are not here today. You are only talking to the survivors. Right? This is why it is called survivor bias. Maybe 90% of companies who try this fail and 10% do very well. You see, and you will think that that is the winning formula, but there is a 90% chance of disaster. So basically, what I'm saying is if someone says X is the reason for his or her success, you are not sure that X in fact is the reason. Separately, if everyone who does X became successful, that would be one thing, but you don't know that. Okay. Another thing you can remember is that you will not start at the top, right? You will rise if you are valuable to people who are at the top. So you should listen to what they have to say. Right? This is why in the book there are three external voices. There are three chapters. One is from Dutt. They're all people I know. They have done very well in their careers. So one of them is Datta. He spent time in GAIL, Gas Authority of India Limited, then Reliance, and now he's working for a big company called AG&P. He's a big shot there. Riani, he's younger. He's a co-founder of a company called Hector Beverages. They make paper boat drinks. You may be familiar. So he's a successful entrepreneur in the beverages industry. And Reddy is chairman and CEO of Brightcom Group. They are in digital marketing. Okay, so this is also two entrepreneurs and one senior person in core industry. What do these people say? They emphasize hard work, tenacity, attention to customer needs, understanding of risk, honesty, fairness, reliability, character, things like that. These are all positive long-term traits. I asked these people what they think is good for careers. None of them are recommending shortcuts. So shortcuts are easy to take and not reliable statistically. I would like you to think clearly about probability and luck. Let's say you take exams and you were trying for A and B. You You got B, but you did not get A. A is the superior option. You wanted it, but you didn't get it. So maybe you will drop a year and try again and hope to get A this time. You know, many people do this. But maybe you miss both. Second time, what happens is you get neither A nor B. Maybe you were lucky the first time, or maybe you are unlucky the second time. Nobody really knows. What is sure is that you just lost 2 years. Okay, this can happen. Now, this has happened to students I know, and the father of one of those students is a professor who teaches probability. But he did not think that the laws of probability will apply to his child. You see? So, this happens. Why? Because we attribute our success to our talent and our hard work, and we attribute our failure to bad luck or the unfairness of the world. Will not apply to them. That is what happened to this professor and his child. Okay, some numerical examples that are there in the book, but I will not discuss them here. If you are going to think about probabilities, you need to guess what your probabilities are. Even that is not really known. That is why you should think of representative sets. Okay, so let me give you some examples so that you will understand. Okay, let's say your family is in a business, so business family. You have many friends who own businesses, and you want to start a business. Your chances are going to be quite good because that is your representative set. Okay, these are the people from whom you are drawn. You are one specimen from that set. But suppose you say you will not start business, you will prepare for UPSC or you will go into professional sports, then you may be closer to average. You will lose your advantage. Okay, another example, say you are a poor village kid. You know 50 local kids who went to Kota or some such coaching center for JE coaching, and 3 of them got into IIT or NIT, which we will call good success. Okay, 3 out of 50. Are your chances closer to 3 out of 50 or 40 out of 50? Is your probability of success 6% or 80%? I think it is close to 6%. You're a poor village kid, you know these kids, they are your representative sets. They are your representative set. However, if all those 50 kids are from one school, you are also in that same school and you topped that school. Your teachers say that you are better than all those kids. The teachers know those kids, they know you, they say you are better than all 50 of those. What are your chances now? Much better than 6%. Right? Okay. Let's say you are 5% of students get good jobs. What are your chances of getting a good job? 35%. That is your representative set. Your representative set is changing, right? Okay. But in that college, after 3 years or 4 years, you are in the top 10% of your class. Now, what is the probability that you will get a good job? Much bigger than 35%, maybe 80%, 85%, I don't know, but much better than 35%, right? Okay. It is in this way that your representative set changes over time, and you want to do better than 50% will be behind you. Maybe 70% of your representative set. You want to outperform them. If you think you will beat 99% of your representative set, maybe you will, but chances are low, right? 30% you can shoot for. But what you do is every time you get a new representative set, you take a few years, you learn, you improve. Some people get lazy, some people get distracted, you keep climbing, you keep learning. What happens is you outperform 75%, maybe 80% of your representative set. You take a few years, you learn, you improve. Some people get lazy, some people get distracted, you outperform 70% of them again. In this way, if you can do it 4 or 5 times over your career, you will be absolutely transformed. The change in you will be very big. Okay? All right. So you want to develop long-term value. There are various chapters in the book on this. There's one chapter where I discuss all of these: learning to speak, write, do varied things, think, learn, relate your studies to the world, formulate problems, solve equations, program computers, statistics and data. It's a very interesting area. And software. Okay, so that's one. There's a chapter I have on developing a useful view of mathematics. Many engineering students in India have a strange view of mathematics. Think about personality and character. By personality, I mean short term things. Are you confident? Do you smile? Do you joke? Are you a serious person? Character is your inner set of values. Are you reliable? Are you honest? Are you persistent? Things like that. Okay. So think about these things. Then I have a chapter on being ready to fail and being prepared to persist. Very important for your generation. Okay. I have a chapter where I discuss this. Fortune favors the prepared mind. This is from a great scientist called Louis Pasteur. So now, what does it mean? If your mind is ready, then when luck comes, you will be able to use that and do good things. What is your mind? So I propose a model that your mind is a network of things that you know and connect. There is a long discussion of this, and in that chapter, and you can, if you're interested, you can see that. How do you choose from multiple options in life? This also is very important because as we are going forward, we don't have enough information. And in the presence of uncertainty, in the absence of information, we still have to choose, right? So binary choices are what I call easiest. For example, should you have pizza or paratha for dinner tonight? You have boiled it down to that. Only two candidates are there. You have to choose one. Or should you study chemistry in a good college or computer science in a bad college? Okay, it's binary. I hope you will agree that there is no unique answer. For some people, pizza is the correct answer. For some people, paratha is the correct answer. Similarly, for some people, chemistry is the correct answer, and for others, computer science is the correct answer. Okay? But you may not have binary choices. In life, you have multiple options. Let me give you an example. Okay? So let's say you have just graduated from a small college. You have one job offer, but it is not a good job offer. Its pay is low and growth prospects are low. Yet, you can't ignore the job offer. Your family needs money soon. But you're thinking you're good at exams. Maybe you could take GATE or something. But you have college friends and they have startups. Maybe you can join them. Then you will not get paid for a while. But who knows, if the company succeeds, you'll do very well. You have a cousin in a big city. He says you can go stay with him and look for a job. Or you're thinking maybe you can consider taking a coaching for GATE or CAT because you're good for exams and then try for either MTech or MBA or something. But then there's a local coaching center, you know someone, and someone over there tells you, you come and work part time for us and do some coaching for our students. Then your aunt in another big city, she has a house, she says you can stay there. But she does not have contacts. Once you go, you'll have to look on your own. From here, what do you choose? This is much harder than a binary choice. Okay, it's multidimensional. You simply don't have enough information. How do you proceed? So I spent some time discussing how such choices can be approached. Okay, there are some other chapters. There's a chapter on learning English where I discuss how English compares with Spanish and how these two languages compare with Indian languages. But I also discuss methods for learning English and emphasize the importance of learning English. I talk about campus interviews as a candidate. That means when you are in campus, some company has come to hire. What should you think of? Let us not get buried in these three things. I've just written them for completeness. I've also written about campus interviews as a selector. That means a few years into your career, you go to some college. Now you are part of the interviewer and you are going to talk to students over there and try to select people. Then what are things that you should do, in my opinion? Okay, so I have these discussions. There's more. One important lesson in life is to compare yourself with you yesterday, not others today, because their journey is different, right? So there is a picture in there. It's about a girl that I think her strength is growing, her speed is growing, but her goals are also growing, right? So when you see this girl, you should compare with this girl, this girl, and this little girl here, rather than some other girl who is also playing at this level today. Right? Compare yourself with you yesterday. Are you improving? That's very important. If you compare yourself with others who are with you today, you don't know what their journey is. There will always be someone who will depress you. There is another aspect of life that cannot be denied or defeated. Okay, that is aging, money. You have to think of money. You have to think of money. You have to think of burnout. You have to think of obsolescence. These are things that I discuss. These pictures are by Gargi Ghosh. Her name is on the cover of the book. There are two technical chapters for the long term. This is for engineers. So there is something I call a network of technical insights. So the main idea is that you learn simpler ways of looking at things and systems, and these insights connect up to form a network of insights. And young kids can't do it, you know. So you're young, you will see some experienced people and they are able to do some things, and you will not be able to do that. Don't be depressed because you cannot do it now. That means when you are in their place 10 years later, 20 years later, young people of that time will not be able to do this. Okay, some examples are given. Similarly, there is another chapter finally on a philosophy of engineering design. So design uses inequalities. This is something I realized only very recently, because in colleges our analysis is mostly based on equations, not inequalities. But for example, if you are designing a structure, the applied precedes efficiency. First you must do the job, then you must do it better. Okay, so this approach has many uses in design, in troubleshooting, and I've discussed that with some examples in the book. Okay, so that brings me to the end of the discussion of the book. Please let me emphasize, buying the book is not compulsory. I am very happy and grateful to AICTE to get a chance to tell you about these ideas. You can buy the book if you like, you can tell your friends, you can recommend it to your library, you can read the reviews on Amazon first. Don't just look at, 2 star, 3 star. There are 2 stars so far, luckily not there, but you don't have to look at the number of stars necessarily. Read the reviews, read the words, and think about what that reader is trying to say. Many of them have said good things about the book. The book is available on Amazon and Flipkart in this price range plus shipping. But Notion Press, which is the publisher, it allows me to create discount coupons. And this is the deepest possible discount coupon that it is allowing me to make. So the book, if you buy from the Notion Press website, if you look for my book, it will be 150 rupees plus shipping. You have to put a coupon code. So I have generated these 3 coupon codes. Each one allows up to 150. So one by one, they will be used up. AICTE Talk, AICTE LEC 1, LEC for lecture, AICTE LEC 2. If you like, you can try one of these and buy the book if you like, but not compulsory, please. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. We'll take a short break now.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, I would like to request the participants to ask their query related to this portion of the video.
Tapish Singh, we are just raise your hand so that we can unmute. Mr. Tapish Singh.
Tapish Singh, we have unmuted you from our side.
Please share coupon again. Someone has said, but actually this video will be posted, isn't it? So you can look there. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah, this video is also will be available on the YouTube channel of AICT. So you just unwind it, go little back, and subsequently you see after the completion of this particular program, you may again see the coupon codes over there. Mr. Kaushik Sai, Mr. Kaushik, yeah.
You have to unmute.
Yeah, we have
yourself.
unmuted Kaushik. Please don't press from your side. We are unmuting you.
Kaushik Sai.
Yeah, please.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
This was a very enlightening session regarding the probability which you explained towards career and success. And in that aspect, I would like to ask a small question regarding the possibility of an idea relating it to probability. Like if you have an idea, and now I'm age of 22, just recently completed my BTech. How can you decide the probability of an idea to succeed, either in terms of startup or in terms of an project? How should I decide that?
This is a very difficult question. This is a very difficult question. I have read somewhere that 95% of startups in India fail. Right? Now, so that's a really discouraging number. However, people who persist in their second business or their third business, sometimes they do much better. So that's one thing, that your first time and your third time, the probability may not be the same. Secondly, if you just go in blindly, someone keeps asking whether you will get a participation certificate. So, Madam Sanju Chaudhary, you may clarify whether they will get certificates or not. I don't know the answer. Okay.
Uh,
So,
yeah. This particular session is for your enrichment, covering the various areas. So I believe that it will go from the educational purpose only. So there will be no provision for the certificate. So please, I request you to kindly concentrate on the session which respected sir is delivering, and it will continue till 4:30.
okay. So, coming back to your idea, I think that predicting the success of a product is actually difficult. I don't want to give a quick answer here. If you read, there are books that talk about it, and they say, you have to be prepared for. In the book, by chance, if you look at it, um, there are there is a chapter where I talk about actionable advice, and I have discussed this. I hope, in case if you don't mind, if you take a look, that is the best I can say, but there is not enough time to answer here. Is that all right? I mean, I have a list of things. This is my opinion of what you can do if you want to be an entrepreneur. Is that all right?
Yeah. So if any other participant has any query for this part of session, please just raise your hand or type on the chat box. Sir, there is a one question. Sir, how do you see the future of mechatronics?
Okay, that's also something that is not part of my normal research activity. However, I visited Tata Motors once a few years ago, and they were trying to build a particular type of vehicle. And it was, battery operated. It is very maneuverable. It can climb stairs. And it will carry two soldiers who are facing two different ways. If a building is attacked by terrorists, they will use this car and go. Some vehicle like that they were trying to make, and there were no PhDs there. They were all MTechs, right? But they were MTechs in control theory. There was one guy with an MTech from Germany in mechatronics and things like that. So as electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles come in, I think maybe mechatronics will do well. As an academic myself, I find it an interdisciplinary area. So then beyond that, I think industrial applications these days, especially with the growth of electric vehicles.
Rudraksh, do you have any query? We have unmuted you, Mr. Rudraksh.
Hello.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, please.
So, what all you have told in your video till now, respecting that, I would like to thank you firstly.
Yes.
And then I would like to ask just one thing, that you told us to focus only on one career and one problem that we have in engineering as we are going for a career. But sir, I have this doubt that like if we have a lot of ideas in our mind, if we can go for multiple careers within this generation has a lot of career options right now. So what if not going for only one track, we go for multiple career options, like I'm going for YouTube also, I'm going for my job also, like in mechanical engineering. So should we do that, or should we focus on one career option only?
Professor Chatterjee, sir, there is some network issue, I think.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, Puneet, you just raise your hand so that there is some network issue at sir end. So we will also take up your question. This session will go up to 4:30. So please don't worry about the questions. Sir will be here only.
Let me see. Let me try again. Yes. Dr. Srivastav, can you hear me?
Yeah, now okay, sir. Now okay, sir.
Yeah, I got cut off. I'm very sorry. So the question was I sort of missed the question. He was talking about how to focus on one career, and then he was going to ask, but I got cut off. Can the question be repeated,
Yeah,
please?
Rudraksh, we have.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So thank you for your time. I was asking that you told us to focus on one problem and one career. But sir, in our generation, we have a lot of career options that we can go with our main track, and we can go for the branches. Like we can, if we are going for a job in mechanical engineering, we can pursue a YouTube channel or a Instagram influencing thing, or any other side branches also for career options.
True.
So, sir, you said ki focus on one thing. If we are focusing on one thing, like if I'm going for my mechanical engineering job
No,
aspect,
no, I'm sorry.
then
Please let me clarify. Please let me clarify.
okay, sir.
I did not say focus on one thing as in do one thing. The one thing I want you to focus on first is your career. Your career can be multidimensional. There's no problem. See, if you travel in an aircraft, sometimes there is a security message in the beginning where they will say that if the pressure drops, then bags, masks with oxygen will come from the top. They will fall. And they say, first put your own mask, then assist somebody else. पहले अपने पैर पे खड़े हो
Mm,
जाइए, फिर दूसरों की देखिए आप, है ना?
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is all I said. The country needs 18 million livelihoods, 20 million livelihoods. That is what the country needs. You need one livelihood. So when you look at
Okay, sir.
18 million, don't be depressed, or 20 million. Out of that 20 million, if 2 lakh people are getting good jobs and you are one of them, if 2 lakh people have good careers and you are one of them, then that is good. Then after that, you can help somebody else also, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
First, you have to take care of your career. What I wanted you to focus on when I said one thing or one problem, I don't mean you look at gearbox noise. That is one problem. I didn't mean that.
Mhm.
Fix the country's problem. Okay?
Okay. Next, we will take question from Mr. Puneet Kumar. Mr. Puneet, we have unmuted you. Yeah, Mr. Puneet. Okay, some network issue. Dr. Lingesh, BV.
Good afternoon.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
So my question is, now it is interdisciplinary engineers. So we can't expect an engineer who is very expert in one particular domain. So my question is, which particular domain suits along with the mechanical courses? Can you please?
In my opinion, um, people say interdisciplinary as if it means that you don't have to learn any discipline. But it is not like that, right? So, for example, I have written in the book, I work with a company in Bangalore. It's a small company. They build autonomous vehicles. Okay. Now, that company, they have a small mechanical engineering design team, right? Now, they are doing a lot of work. They are sort of rapidly designing these vehicles, troubleshooting, something fails, and so on. And then after that, where they get stuck, sometimes they ask me, and sometimes I'm able to help them. Right now, you see, when I am working with a small company, I am being interdisciplinary. Right, someone has a fluid pressure problem, someone has a heat treatment problem, someone has an adhesion problem, someone has a volume inconstancy problem. Right, so these are all actually different problems. So it's absolutely a good idea to be interdisciplinary. The way I say it to my students is I say, if you know one thing well, you will eat. But if you know two things well, then you will be very strong. So our professor in college used to say, little bit of mechanical, little bit of electrical, then you will be very strong. Right? It almost doesn't matter what are the two things you know. So, for example, even within, suppose you're doing solid mechanics in mechanical engineering, if you understand only computational mechanics, then you're weak. You will get a job or something, you'll eat. But if you understand computational mechanics and experiment, or if you understand computational mechanics and deeply you understand theory of plasticity, then you are very strong. Or the other hand, if you understand computational mechanics as well as computational fluid mechanics, then you will be strong. You see, so if you understand machine design and electrical circuits and signals and measurements, then you will be strong, right? So it is in this way. Being interdisciplinary is a good idea, but it cannot be that your feet are not strong on any part of the ground. If you have 2 feet planted firmly on the ground, that is a good idea, but you cannot be floating and say you are doing that because you are interdisciplinary. I hope my position is clear.
Sir, we will take last question of this session from Mr. Gaurav Kumar. Yeah, Gaurav, we have unmuted you. Gaurav, are you there, Gaurav? Okay.
Puneet Kumar has a question and he's putting in text also. Let us see.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
Puneet.
if there is a later, there will be another session at
Okay.
the end also. So maybe we can do that. Someone pointed out that I don't know the probability of something like whether his company will succeed or my company will succeed. That is true. But not knowing the probability and not having any idea, like whether it is 5% or 10% or whether it is 80 to 90%, not having any idea is probably a weaker position to be in. If you have some sense of where it might be by looking at your representative group, then I think you do better. That is my suggestion. Of course, this is not a mathematical theorem. So, if you don't agree, then you don't agree.
Sir, one query from Rudraksh Verma, sir. Sir, it's your opinion. So, if we follow, then what is the probability of us of succeeding?
I couldn't possibly answer that question.
Sir, with
If I
all
did
due
that, I would be a
respect,
fake person. See, there are people who are on the internet or on TV, they are saying you do this particular thing and success is guaranteed. Right? I am not saying that. If you read the book, you will see that I am fairly careful in explaining what I am saying. So, in this short session, it is not really possible, right? The book has 240 pages. What I try to say is you try to identify your representative set, and it is unlikely that you will do much better than them. Better than them all. Maybe you'll do better than average. You try to do better than 70%. See, for example, let me put it like this. Let us say that you study in a certain college. From that college, in the last 10 years, 100 people have started companies, and you have found that basically 20 of them did well. Then that is your ballpark figure. Your chances are 20%. But you look closer, you find that all those 20 were from business families, and you are not from a business family. Then your assessment changes, and your chances are not going to be 20%. Right? This job has to be done by you. If you don't do it, then you're flying blind. If you do it, you will have slightly more wisdom in your approach. In either case, I cannot tell you because I don't know your circumstances. Don't make me see. If I say that you should try to estimate the probability by looking at your representative set, that does not mean I am offering to look at your representative set to identify it and give you a number for which you will hold me accountable. All I am saying is that if you don't have a number in your head, then you are blind. If you have a number in your head, you know how to assess things, to try to understand whether to persist, to seek help, things like that. I hope that answers your question. It is the best answer that I can give you at this time.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Now we come to the end of first sessions on discussion on the book Build and Sustain a Career in Engineering.
Yes,
So
please.
we will take a quick break of 4 minutes. So it's 2:59. So at 3:04 we will again join. Uh, I request all the participants, please do not leave the room. It's live only. So at 3:04 we will start a discussion on research area in mechanical engineering, followed by question and answer by Dr. Banerjee Chatterjee sir. So I request all the participants to be here only. So we just end the session, this first session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Is it okay if I just talk a little bit while we are waiting for the next video? I hope that's all right.
Yeah, or if you suggest, sir, we may continue. I mean, if you want.
No, no, just I will address something. Someone has raised an important question. They are saying, you are saying we should follow our career while in the country there are so many problems that are not being solved. Right? So, to that, my response is that if you are not strong yourself, then you cannot help anyone else. You have to be strong first. You build your career, then you help. You see, I am a professor, I teach students, I have established myself. In our college, there is something called higher academic grade. That is the that so I am now higher academic grade professor. My basic salary has saturated at the top. I have students who are professors in other institutes. I am fellow of two academies. Ab kya kare? Should I just keep doing the same work? No, I have to broaden my reach. That is why I wrote this book. I'm telling you about it. I will discuss these things about research. I think 10 years ago or 15 years ago, when I was still trying to establish myself, AICT would not have contacted me because they did not think that I had sufficiently established myself. And if they had contacted me, I would have said, I am sorry, I have not yet established myself. Please let me do my own work first, stand on my own feet, and then a time will come when I will be ready to face a larger um, audience. Right? In this way, today, I feel that I can say something about mechanical engineering. I am still not saying anything about electronics. I am not saying कि AI में ये कीजिए, वो कीजिए. I am not saying that because you will say I don't have the credentials. That is why the title of my book is not Build and Sustain a Career. The title of my book is Build and Sustain a Career in Engineering. Yes, because that is the extent to which I can claim some credentials. That's very interesting. See, CNC machines. Hmm. I don't follow the industry myself, but my understanding is that many of the CNC machines are actually built abroad and imported. Right? So, but there are some small companies that do very interesting and difficult machining work. One of my colleagues, the name of my book is Build and Sustain a Career in Engineering. Um, one of my that was a question on the side. One of my colleagues is Professor Mohit Law, Mohitlaw. He knows a lot about machining. He comes from a family where machine tools were part of their business, and he's really good at it. And he sort of goes and meets a lot of smaller companies doing very interesting machining things. So that's the machining part. The CNC part, I don't know. Um, I think that many of the really good high precision CNC machines are imported. Okay. Mechatronics is a different matter. Mechatronics has to do with the control of mechanical systems, measurements, sensors, actuators, and so on. And it is a good subject to know if you want an industrial career. But someone has to, of course, there has to be space there. Someone has asked, what is the future of mechanical engineering? I will say that mechanics is not leaving us soon, right? This does not mean that you can keep doing the same things. We need to revise our syllabus and so on. But mechanics is not leaving us soon. In fact, software, people say that it's the greatest employer, and it is true. But intelligence, for example, it turns creative jobs into clerical jobs and it removes clerical jobs. If you think about it, millions and millions of people are moving into artificial intelligence and machine learning, but it is a subject whose fundamental promise is that the computer will replace the human worker. So, how that will play out over the next 10 years, we have to see. You have to choose which boat you will ride in. I cannot tell you. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Research, there is a later. The next one is research. Next session is research.
Thank you, sir, for addressing all the queries. Now we move on to our next session. We have another video on the area of research in mechanical engineering. But before that, I would like to call Chatterjee, sir, to add his remarks.
Okay. So, when Dr. Amit Srivastav, when he contacted me first and he said that we want to talk about research projects and internships for students, um, what I responded to him was that you see there are thousands of colleges. AICTE is has affiliated to AICTE. There are more than 5,000 engineering colleges. Is that not right, Dr. Srivastav?
So right now, around if you involve all the pharmacy and other institutions also, it's around 10,000
Oh
institutions.
my gosh, that's very big. But just about BTech granting colleges, 5,000-6,000.
It will, yeah, definitely, sir.
So that is see, because pharmacy is a completely different subject. I don't want to comment on it. There are also ITI type places. Those also I don't want to comment because it's a different skill set. But if you think about these engineering colleges affiliated to AICT, very large number. Now, if you say that internships in good companies are useful, if you think of internships with IITs or NITs, professors over there, they are useful. If you think like that, CSIR labs, defense labs, someone may give you an internship. The total number will be very small compared to the total number of undergraduates in AICTE affiliated colleges. That is why what I had told Dr. Srivastav is that we should think about what is research, how it is to be approached in a general sort of way, because the students, 80%, 90%, I don't know, but some large percentage of your students from AICTE affiliated colleges will finally be doing their projects in their own colleges, guided by their own faculty. So the second talk is about research in mechanical engineering. I will give you my views, trying to explain what research is with an example. So the example is from my own career, but of course you could do other things. I hope that's okay. Madam, you can maybe, or sir, you can maybe play the second video. I will mute
Yes,
myself and stop my
second
video.
video.
Yes, sir.
Of my presentation today, the theme of this presentation is research areas in mechanical engineering. Let us begin with this question: what is research? And that the answer to that depends on who you ask. So, for some organizations, especially in the social sector, data collection from society is research, or even a review of published information about some aspect that they are interested in. It may be called research. But we are a mechanical engineering community. So, in that, for core engineering companies, research means typically the development of new materials or technologies that lead to better products or processes. Okay. However, for academic institutions, so I am a professor in IIT Kanpur now, and before that, I have taught in other academic institutions, IIT Kharagpur and IISc Bangalore. Before that, I was a postdoc at Penn State University. So these are academic institutions, right? So for academic institutions, research means we we are getting or generating some kind of new information or new analysis, new process, new material, new understanding, new technology. So, for example, um, for an academic institution, buying a chip and running a known algorithm on that chip will not be considered research. However, it may lead to a better product or a process. And if you are in an engineering company, they may be very happy if you do this. Okay, so there is a distinction. How is research evaluated? So, for companies, the critical questions may be: does it work? Can it be sold? What will it cost? Will profits increase? Has someone else patented it already? So, for example, the test engineer may come and report that the structure has been tested at 24 tons and it has tolerated that load. And then the management may decide that they will certify that structure as safe for 20 tons and then they will market it. You see? So, such work is very important. Don't misunderstand me. Just because I am an academic, it is not that I do not understand the value of this work. But I emphasize that such work is not academic research. For academic researchers, we will ask if it worked, we will ask why did it work? Can the principle by which it is working, can that be used to make the system even better? Can the way in which it is working be improved? Can this method of working be generalized? Is what we have done really different from other work? Maybe there is some research in 2013 which seems similar. Then we have to be very careful and study that and explain why it is different. And what does this work imply for some related problem, So something like this. Have we proved something? If we have not proved it, but we have established that it is likely, or we have indicated that it may be very frequently true, how strong is our claim? How can we defend our claim? Will this result or finding need to new research, right? So in academic research, we are interested in things like the context of the work, the novelty of the work, the generality of the work, the proof that this thing exists. We are sort of frequently preoccupied with that, the future scope of the work. But usually we are not interested in the profit that will come from the work. Okay? So these are, in some sense, two different worlds. And this is why they are different. People who are interested in product development or some such things, in technology development, they talk about technology readiness levels or TRLs. Okay, so TRL goes from 1 to 9. This is from some European website. That's the website there. But I will not read all of them, but you will see 1, 2, 3, 4 basic principles observed, technology concept formulated, experimental proof of concept, technology validated in a lab. Academic research will typically be in this 1 to 4 TRLs. Okay, but companies and industries may be interested in 7 to 9, like 8, system complete and qualified. The actual system is proven in an operational environment. You see, that is what they are interested in. And there is, in fact, some kind of gap there, right? So, this is one reason why many people correctly say that academic research and industrial research are quite different. Academic research may generate knowledge and ideas that eventually, down the road, may lead to products and processes that industry can use. However, academic research also generates a lot of information and lot of concepts that eventually are not used by industry. That is how the system is. That is how it must be. Because at this stage you don't yet know what the product will be. Over here, you are interested in TRL1, you are interested in basic findings and basic development of a core subject. Okay? All right. Here is a simple model of our world. By our world, I am talking about the four players are government, university, industry, and society. Okay? Now, each of these interacts with the other three. Okay, so let us look at the top left here. Government influences society by passing laws, and government provides services to society. like postal department, police force, army, right? Government road building, right? All right. And how does society interact with government? What do they give to the government? They pay taxes. Okay, so this is how government interacts with society, top left. Let us look at the top right. The government supplies funds to the university, and the university reports to the government on how it is working. For example, it may get, you know, it will be audited, and if it gets research grants, then it has to write reports and explain what it has done with the money and what results it has obtained. All right. Now you look at the bottom left, the interaction of society with industry, and you will see that industry provides products and services to society. Okay. And what does society do? It pays for those products and services, so it pays money to industry. This really is where industry makes its profit. This is the reason why industry exists. Okay. Now, the industry may need to be controlled, and so the government has laws that apply to industry, and of course, industry has to pay taxes to the government. Okay. All right. So that takes care of industry and government. Now, let us look at society and university. Loosely speaking, society provides students to the university. University trains them, so that way they get knowledge. But also, the university may generate research knowledge which is useful for society. That may happen also. So, university gives knowledge to society. That leaves bottom right the interaction between industry and university. And industry sometimes gives funds to university when they have applied research projects. They may give it more often or more readily. Usually, open-ended fundamental research projects are more frequently funded by the government. But industry gives funds to the university. And what does the university do? The university gives employees to industry because it trains these students and they sort of leave, hopefully, as employees, sometimes as entrepreneurs, so they become industry themselves. But university also generates knowledge which is sometimes used by industry to create products and services. Okay, so these are the four players in our model, and you will see that each one interacts with the other. Now, let us go to the question for which I showed you that picture. Who controls the quality of industrial products? So you see, industry will be controlled by the public and by the government. Okay, so if the products are good, if they are useful, if they are beautiful, or if they are cheap, then the public will buy them. And if they are not good, the public will not buy them. In this way, the public controls the quality, the utility, beauty, cost by supplying more money or not supplying money. An industry has to please society, otherwise, it will not do well. Okay. But industry may do other things. You see, it may make unsafe products, it may cause environmental damage, it may exploit workers and pay them too little so that it can make more profit. And that the government will control through laws. So the government and public both control industry. Industry may also cheat in other ways. For example, they may steal someone else's intellectual property. And for that, there are patent laws and the justice system. It is not perfect, but to that extent, to the extent that it is there, they are there to stop industry from unfairly using other people's intellect. So, university has no control on industry. But the other players, government and society, have control on industry. Very good. Who controls the quality of academic research? This only universities and other researchers do that, maybe research laboratories. Okay, so the other players have no engagement, they have low academic expertise, they have low academic expertise, they may be experts in other things, execution of projects and so on, but academic expertise is low and their influence on the university is low. Let me explain. University generates some knowledge. This is an overall body of knowledge. The industry may give a fund for a certain thing, right? So modeling of some rotor in some engine, engine. They may give some project to some professor, and the professor generates some specific report for that. That is fine. But all the other knowledge that the university generates, um, industry cannot control. Okay. Similarly, the government gives funds here, but much of it for lecturers' salaries, grounds, maintenance, buildings. Occasionally, the government gives research grants, but research grants are open-ended. It is understood that they will not always work. Success will be there, but it will be an academic sort of success, And so, university is not very can the type of work output from university cannot be really controlled by government. Another reason is that if there is a very senior and expert professor who writes a very complicated report, typically the government may have people with PhDs and they are scientists, but they are busy with a lot of administrative work, you see. So, slowly over a period of time, they are not as qualified to evaluate the quality of the scientific work as other professors in other universities and so on. Okay. So, for this reason, the quality of academic research from universities is controlled by universities. This is why academic research is subject to peer review. A peer is someone who is like you, who does work that you do or work like the work that you do. These are your peers. So peers will review. So, for example, your work in research, academic research, will be checked by other researchers in the same field. Another thing you should remember is that industrial products can be sold again and again. So suppose you design a nice car, then you can sell 10,000 of them or 10 lakh of them or 10 million of them. You can sell, right? But the same research cannot be done again and again. Okay, so suppose you prove a theorem and you publish it. Next year, you cannot say, this is the same theorem from last year, I would just like to publish it again. Okay, or this is the same alloy that I characterized last year and the properties of the alloy are still the same, but will you just publish this paper again? You can't do that, right? So in academic research, novelty is very important. At the same time, we are training PhD students, we are writing research papers and so on. So for this reason, novelty being very important, sale value is less important. That has to be. Okay, so these are some of the challenges of academic research. The rules are different, the aims are different, the execution time is different, and the standards of evaluation are different. These days, academics are told to do more industrially relevant work. That is true. But still, industrial research and academic research are not the same. Okay, so I am an academic. The sort of research I do, and my batchmates from college who are now in industry, and some of them are doing research, the sort of research they do, these two types of research are different. We are interested in research in mechanical engineering, so I thought, let me choose a professional body called the American Society of Mechanical Engineers, and we will look at them only. There are other professional bodies, there are other publishers, and so on. In the UK, there is an institution of mechanical engineers, for example. In there is an institution of engineers, which is broader in scope, not narrowed to mechanical. Whatever it is, doesn't matter. But let us look at the American Society of Mechanical Engineers only, which is ASME. ASME. Now, ASME does many things, but it also publishes 36 research journals. What are these journals? These journals are basically periodically published books. You can think of them as magazines, but they are technical magazines. Okay, so each article is very carefully written and reviewed and so on. That, at least in principle, that is the goal. Now, these 36 journals, they all have different names. Some of those names are. So you see Journal of Applied Mechanics, of Biomechanical Engineering, Journal of Computational and Nonlinear Dynamics, Journal of Autonomous Vehicles and Systems, Journal of Dynamic Systems Measurement and Control, Journal of Electrochemical Energy Conversion and Storage, so that's battery, Journal of Energy Resources Technology, Journal of Engineering for Gas Turbines and Power, Journal of Fluids Engineering, Journal of Heat Transfer, Journal of Manufacturing Science and Engineering. So you can see that this is a large range of topics, right? And I want to emphasize that there are many other publishers. These 36 are not the only research journals in mechanical engineering. So there are all these journals. These journals have articles in them that we call papers. Okay, so a large part of my professional energy and time goes into writing research papers, and there are many people who write many papers. I write a certain number, but it takes time. So let me tell you about those papers. So let's look at just because I am more comfortable with my own work, I have chosen mine. So that is why my name is there. And this Sombit Das, he was my student when I was at IIT Kharagpur. Then he graduated and came to IIT Kanpur, and that is when this paper came out. So you see the name of the author and the affiliation will be published. This is just a screenshot, a snip from that journal paper page. And this is the title of the paper: Numerical Stability Analysis of Linear Incommensurate Fractional Order Systems. So that journal will have several issues every year. Each issue will have several papers. Each such paper will have author's title and an abstract. This abstract is a summary of what's in the paper. So, for example, in this one, we present a method for detecting right half plane roots of a fractional order polynomials. It is based on a Nyquist like criterion with a system dependent contour, which includes all right half plane roots. We numerically count whatever, etc. Okay. So, this is just one part of the paper. The paper has several pages, and here is a picture of the first two. So you can see that the title and the name and the abstract is there. Then this, if you can read, it's a bit small. It says introduction, then right half plane roots by counting origin and circle. There is a cone, there is mathematics in the complex plane, and so on. Okay, so you can see at the bottom over here, this is transactions of the ASME. So that's one of their journals. And over this paper was published in 2013. If you can read the very small type, and if you can read the very small type here, it says Journal of Computational and Nonlinear Dynamics. This is one of their journals. The body of the paper continues like this for some pages. When a paper is submitted to a journal, the editor gives it to an associate editor, but whatever, you think of it as the editor, gets it reviewed by other authors or other researchers. Those reviewers may say the paper is no good and should not be published. That can happen. Or they may say that the paper can be published provided some improvements are made, and they explain what those or describe what those improvements are. Then you will revise it, and if finally if the paper is accepted, it is published. Okay, so let's give you an example of an academic research project. So how do you arrive at such a paper? So first you choose a subject area. There are many subject areas. These days artificial intelligence, machine learning, these are very hot sort of global methods that are being applied to a large number of areas in traditional areas. But my taste is in traditional areas, and in particular in dynamics and vibrations. So you have a subject area, you choose that. I've chosen dynamics and vibrations. Inside that subject area, you have to choose a problem area. So even in dynamics and vibrations, so many things are there. We can do vehicle handling, we can do shock propagation through soil, we do many things. We can do robots that are hammering, something. We can do rotor whirl, we can do chatter in gear teeth. All of those are within dynamics and vibrations. I choose a problem area that is vibratory transport of particles. So if you have a table and you vibrate it, sometimes if you vibrate it in the right way, if you put a particle on it, the particle may bounce, hop, slide, and move on the table. Within this, we will choose a specific problem. So even simpler than that and more focused. So I will study motions of a purely sliding particle on a table while is not shaken up and down. Okay. And you think of this particle, you can think of it as a coin that is lying flat on table. For this specific problem, you choose an approach. So normally, if you're an experimentalist, you will need certain types of equipment. You will need a table. It will have to be on some kind of linear bearings because you're moving it. You'll need actuators, sensors, cameras, computers, and so on for data acquisition and for sending the correct signal to the actuator and so on. And then you have to choose a problem area. And if you use calculations, then it requires computers, and you may not require this equipment. So it is a matter of taste, it is a matter of what sort of lab you have and what you like to do and you do well and what you have money for. I will do calculations. Okay. So to do that, at the very least, first I have to write equations of motion. They are nonlinear and difficult. I have to learn at least how to solve them numerically. The equations of motion will be differential equations and they will be nonlinear. So I have to learn how to solve them. At this point, what has happened is that we are now ready to begin work. Okay, very good. What I propose is, can we blindly shake the table in such a way that no matter where we put the slider, it moves to the center of the table? So this is a question. You see, it is possible to have a camera that is processing, taking pictures which a computer is processing so that you know where the slider is, and then you can shake the table in certain ways that respond to the current location of the slider. So that is not an open loop problem, that is a closed loop problem. Okay, but open loop is also possible. So you will blindly shake it in such a way, you don't have a camera, you will keep shaking it in that way, and someone comes and puts a coin on the table and it moves to the center of the table after some time. Okay, is it possible to shake the table in such a way? That's my question. This is, it may seem like a made up question to you, but actually, this question is interesting to researchers in robotics. Some years ago, there were people who were interested in it. And this is because it is a sub question in a topic in robotics, which is called parts manipulation. You may also be like me, I work in dynamics, and so it may be interesting to you as a nice, difficult, challenging, but somewhat tractable problem in nonlinear dynamics. So then you have to go and do a literature review, and let's say the literature review shows that it's not fully solved. There are things there that can still be done and which may be interesting to people, either in robotics or in nonlinear dynamics, or maybe just mathematically oriented people or something. Okay. So literature review says it's not a dead horse. There is some scope for doing some work. Okay. So we look at the equations because we're doing calculations. They are nonlinear, they are complicated. I'm not trying, this is very big and it's online, but the equations are nonlinear and complicated. So first we will try some numerical search for ways of shaking the table. Okay. The actual way in which I am thinking of shaking the table in my calculation is different, but for simplicity, I am just giving you something like this. This is not what I am actually using, but let us, for now, for understanding this example, assume that the x direction motion is a cos pt, where t is time, p is a frequency, and a is an amplitude, and the y direction motion is a cos pt plus c. Okay, let's just assume that. That means basically it's moving in some elliptical way. This will not actually work, but let us tentatively pretend that it will work. Okay, so this shaking has three parameters, a, p, and c. The friction coefficient mu is another parameter, so there are total four parameters. You may think that the slider mass is also a parameter, but equations show that the slider mass cancels out. Okay, the table is being given a displacement, therefore the force required to move the table, you will have to use the mass of the table. Okay, so say we find some parameter values for which this works. That means basically it's moving in some elliptical way. This will not actually work, but let us tentatively pretend that it will work. Okay, now we write equations and suppose we find some parameter values for which this works. That means it goes to the center. It will not go to the center directly like this. It will, it will vibrate and do something like this, and it will have some very complicated motion. But on average, it will go like this. If you can see my cursor, then you will see what I'm saying. I hope you can see the cursor. It's small, but it's a Z. Maybe you can see it. Okay, so say we find some parameter values for which it works, then we are ready to begin our investigation. See, now our research is beginning. Okay, good. First, I must emphasize that we have to keep checking everything. We have to look hard for errors because we are our quality control engineers, right? See, when you build let us say you program a robot to do some welding. When it makes the weld, you test the weld, right? And if it is correct, then it is correct. So when you make a product like that, then the way to check it is easy. It may be very hard to make the product, but the checking of the product is easier. However, in calculations, what happens is that there is no final product. So it is our responsibility to check very carefully for errors. So we will keep checking constantly. We will think of ways in which errors may have entered and so on. Okay. Then we have to ask academically interesting sub questions. So, for example, for what parameters does it work and for what parameters does it not work? Where is the boundary between working and not working? Can we identify that boundary? When does it fail? So what happens if some of the parameters are not perfect? So here I'm pretending that frequency and phase are enough. So I'm saying, what happens if the frequency or phase is not perfect? What happens if the friction coefficient varies with position? So some part of the table has been polished a little more than other parts of the table, or some part of the table there is a little oil smear, and then the friction coefficient changes with position. When the slider is over there, it slides more easily. What happens then? Can a stability map be drawn? So, for example, frequency and phase, if these are our parameters, then on some map, on some graph, on some two-dimensional plane with frequency on one axis or phase on one axis, remember, just parameter 1, parameter 2. I'm pretending that these are the parameters. So, can we then put a red dot if it does not work and a blue dot if it works, and see what that picture looks like? So that will be a stability map. Is an approximate analytical solution possible? As it happens, my academic interest is in this direction, and actually I am working on this problem now, looking for an approximate analytical solution. But it is too complicated to discuss here. It is a whole academic seminar in itself. And it's a particular small group of people who are interested in such approximate analytical solutions. But it's a legitimate question. Is an approximate analytical solution possible? If you don't have that or you have that, doesn't matter. You're making some claims. You're making stability claims, analytical solution claim that it works for some parameters. How will you verify your claims? Can you do a simple experiment? Can you get someone else to do the calculation? Can you do the calculation separately in some commercial software? You have to think about that. How does this relate to past work? So, as I said, robotics people used to work on this problem. So, what have we done that is different from what they did? What are implications for other researchers, right? So, people who work in dynamics, people who work on analytical solution, people who do parameter studies, people who are interested in stability, people who are interested in robotics, in parts manipulation. What are the implications for those people? Why should they care about our work? So, in academics, we are always preoccupied with this question: who learned what from this work? Right? Okay, so different from industrial research. All right. So now our work is done, our results are there, we have thought carefully. As far as we are able to tell, everything is correct. We have understood how it relates to the literature. Now we will plan the paper that we will write, or the write up, the report that we will write. So we will begin with the broad scope of the problem, define, present our equations, our analysis, our results. We will discuss the implications and conclude. So that's the research paper draft. Typically, this will be revised several times. Okay, then we will submit for publication and wait for reviews, which may take some weeks to some months. Then we may revise and resubmit if needed, as I told you earlier, and then eventually, with luck, it will get published. The time frame varies with the nature of the problem. So typically, my papers, the time frame is 1 to 3 years. For some people, it is shorter. For some people, it is longer. Okay, so that's how it works. You're an engineering student. You're not doing academic research. If you're an MTech student, academic research is not essential. So such projects are for students to get experience in things outside their courses and outside the written exams held by the college for those courses, right? That is why academic research is not essential for BTech and MTech. In some colleges or some guides in some colleges will insist that the MTech must have an academic research component, but that is not insisted upon by all advisors, and I don't insist on it either. For For the PhD, academic research is essential. Okay, so still, even if there is no academic research, the project has academic value because you see, there is a problem statement, there is planning, execution, results, implications, report writing, and throughout this work, the student will be interacting with the guide on all aspects, ideally. For this reason, the project can be extremely useful for a student. Now, let us say you're seeking project work outside your college. So, you may apply to companies, professors, national academies, and all. But remember that there are thousands of colleges from the AICTE viewpoint. There are many, many students, and most of those students from most of the colleges may not get project work outside the college. That is the reality. The numbers are very vast, okay? But it is true that some companies offer internships. It is true that some professors offer projects. And there are national academies like INAE, that is the Indian National Academy of Engineering. Similarly, the National Academy of Sciences, India, okay? Indian so they are there. There are four such academies. Then there are CSIR labs. Things are there. Okay, so you can apply for those, and with luck, you may get something. Now, how to approach someone? So, I will mention a couple of weak methods. I think they are weak. You can be the judge. One weak method is random internet search. So, you go and type summer internship, mechanical engineering, or something, and see who is announcing something, or you post your CV online on some portal. Okay, and it's a weak method because many lakhs of students will try, but relatively few will get it. Okay, that's one. There is another weak method, which is writing mass emails to professors. So they get many requests, and they may not even reply to you. So that's a weak method. A good method has three parts: worth, competition, connection. So this is related to my question. I will explain what I mean in the next. Worth, competition, connection. Worth means you become good at something, and you should. They do not have to be grades. You could get good grades, but you could also build something by yourself, or you could become a mechanic's assistant and just have pictures of you doing something. You can maybe write to a professor saying that this car, this engine, I can dismantle it and I can reassemble it, and it takes me X number of hours, and the engine starts again, and here is a video of me doing it. And the professor may have a project where this particular confidence and skill is very useful. Then you may get an internship with that professor. For example, if you learn English well, the reality is that it will help you. And to do this, you can use the internet, you can use YouTube lectures, and you can use headphones in a way to train your speech. If you can imagine what it is, that is fine. Otherwise, it is there discussed on the net and also in my book. Competition means you think about how many people will compete with you. Okay. So, for example, that Indian National Academy of Engineering, their internship may go to students of high ranked colleges. So, if you are from a college that is not very highly ranked, maybe your chances are smaller. You can try, but that is the reality. Okay. Online CV portals will have many people who have put their CVs, and so many people will be competing. Right. But if there is a company near your college, they may consider you more seriously. So, for example, suppose you are able through some way to meet a person who is a senior person in a company whose plant is 2 kilometers or 3 kilometers from your college. Then those people will be familiar with your college, you see. And so they may say, yeah, okay, let's give this kid a chance. You see, so then over there, what happens is the competition becomes less because there may be 4,000 other colleges, but they are far away. And then they are not occupying mind space, in the minds of the management of this company that is near your college. So, in general, you should prefer situations where there are fewer applicants per position. And in some case, if you are lucky, there may be only one applicant for the position, and that applicant is you. Then it may be very good indeed. Okay, so that's the competition part. Finally, there is the connection part. So, personal relationships are very important. contacts, known faces, introductions from people, these help a lot. Okay, so once you are, think about the person who is receiving applications, right? So it's getting maybe 4,000 applications, doesn't know what to do, right? At that time, if someone known to him says, this kid is good, this girl is good, or this boy is good, it really helps because you may be, put in the short list or something. So it helps, right? So you may think you don't have personal contacts, but you probably do. Everybody knows some other people, and those people know some other people. So, for example, your family members know some people, your college seniors know some people, your professors know some people, right? But when you request these people for help, you must be humble, you must be patient, and you must be grateful also because they are helping you, right? So remember your representative set. This I discussed in my first talk if you attended. So, for example, if you are from a college where several people go to work in some company as interns, right? Then your chances there become better because your representative set has a relatively high success rate in that company. You will probably, right, not do much better than most people in your representative set. Statistically speaking, that is true. Okay, so this is, if you think about this rationally and realistically, you may get a better shot at getting something that is good enough. Okay, all right. What happens if you can't find a project outside your college? Well, that is the topic of the next talk. So now I can take some questions on what is covered so far, and then we will have a 5-minute break.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. I don't know whether that was useful for people, but research is, people may not understand what research means, at least for universities. So I thought maybe, although it may not be exactly what they wanted, but at least maybe some clarity can come about what it involves. Right? Research is not for everybody. Academic research is not for everybody. Yes, please.
Thank you so much, sir. Now I request again all the participants, if you have any query, you may please raise your hand by using that particular icon, or you may write in the chat box. Sir, we received one query from Ishan Thakur, sir. Hello, good afternoon. Sir, how to start research work and how to choose the right subject or topic for the master research subject, which leads some useful work towards for the beneficial, that is beneficial for the nation.
So that really is what I was trying to explain, where I said that choose a decent guide who will help you. Within that, there are many areas. Even within mechanical engineering, there are many areas. And your MTech level research is for you to learn and become strong. So, one of my friends and colleagues from ISC, Professor Gurumurthy, he says, you can ask for a cooking lesson, then I will teach you how to cook. Or you can ask for a dinner that you can sell in your restaurant, and then I will give you such a dinner you sell in your restaurant. But don't say that I will give you a cooking lesson and the result of that cooking lesson has to be a dinner that you will sell in your restaurant, because that is too much constraint. So, in the same way, for MTech thesis, you are learning. After you get your MTech, suppose you get a job, you will work for 35 years. You want to benefit the country, you benefit it then. This is not your time to benefit the country. See, you are getting an MTech, you think you're all grown up and all that, and you're an adult, but from my viewpoint, you're a baby, right? So, when a child sitting in class 2 says, I am learning how to write, I am going to the market and I am spelling doctor, how will this benefit the country? We say you learn, you will become strong, you will be able to do many things, then we'll see how it benefits the country. The BTech graduate is a generalist, they will be typical jobs for BTechs will be very broad in scope. They can do many things, but they will learn on the job and they will not take such complicated tasks until they are very experienced. For MTech, it will be technically a little more narrow. In my book, there is a whole chapter on higher studies, but in any case, when you get your MTech, you choose some area. It's a combination of your guide as well as the area that you want to work in. So, for example, I did not want to work in fluid mechanics and thermodynamics. I wanted to work in dynamics and vibrations. Within that area, whoever were the people who were available, I went and spoke to some of them, and somebody agreed to guide me, and then I worked with that person, and then we evolved a problem. And for your MTech, I really insist that what you learn, what you can do after your MTech is much more important than what you do for your MTech. Okay? I hope that's.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. Dr. Deepan Kumar, we have unmuted you, sir. Dr. Deepan Kumar Rajak.
While we are waiting, someone has said, how do I publish a paper? I have described, you can slowly and carefully. You please look at the recording, look at it with care. In my opinion, that is the way to write the paper. Okay? To my understanding.
Yeah,
Yes,
Dr.
please.
Dr. Deepan Kumar, sir.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
Okay. Sir, my query, and I wanted to know about some artificial intelligence, some embedded work, whether it is associated fully for the marine engineering. Is there any probability to work on that in research point of view?
See, these days, people are applying artificial intelligence to many things. Okay, so is it possible for me to share my screen, Dr. Srivastav?
Yes.
I will share my screen. I will share Firefox. Here is Firefox, right?
It's a visual, sir.
You can see my screen.
Yes, sir.
So here I will go to something called Scopus. Scopus is a database where it gives information about papers that are published. I hope everyone can see. Okay, so now I can search for papers. So article, title, abstract, keywords. I can look for gear, box, noise. This is just an old topic. Okay, so let me search. Now you see it is giving me there are 358 papers on this, And if you look by year, you can see that typical years, there are, 18, 20, 25 papers. This is how many papers are being written in gearbox noise. Is this clear? I hope you understand. Okay. Similarly, I can go and look. I can look at, let us say, turbulence. So, how many papers have the word turbulence in the article title, in the abstract, or keywords? Okay. So let me go there, and you see 225,000, 2.25 lakh papers are there, right? You can see lot of papers have something to do with turbulence. 10,000, 10,000, 11,000, 10,000, 9,000, slowly increasing because people are writing more papers, but approximately 10 to 11,000 papers per year have something to do with turbulence. Clear so far? I hope that is clear. Now we will do machine learning. And you see 3.8 lakhs are there. But when you look here, you will see how it is increasing. 9,000, 11,000, 13,000, 17,000, 23,000, 35,000. In 2021, 77,416 papers were written, which have machine learning. Okay. Now let me come here and say 77,000 by 365. Because if you start reading these papers, you will have to read 211 papers per day. Okay. You are not going to read them clearly, right? So what will you do? You will learn some machine learning, then you will implement it in some area. You think people are not implementing machine learning in ships? Let us do plus, then again here, and let us say marine. Is that okay? Let us search. Okay, 1,444 papers are there, out of which 429 were written in the year 2021. So that's how the world is right now. It's extremely crowded. It's extremely competitive. Okay, so I will stop sharing. I hope this answers your question a little bit. Yes, there are thousands and thousands of people who are very busily writing papers on these things. There are so many papers being written that if you wanted to read them all and be sort of aware of the total field, you would have to read 210 papers a day, which is not possible. So clearly you will not read them. Then you will use machine learning to read the papers and then choose some paper. Maybe you will read it, maybe you will not read it. In some ways, it has reached a situation where um, it is like a large amount of many different conversations. So it is not possible to hear everything. Okay. Now, is there an application of artificial intelligence in marine science? Why not? There will be. So for artificial intelligence in some areas is really very good for video processing. It's good for games that are very complicated. For example, new techniques in artificial intelligence have done absolutely amazing things, processing videos, playing chess against grandmasters and so on. But if 77,000 people papers are written per year, then many of them have to be bad. Yes. Okay, that's how it is. Thank you. Any other question?
Sir, one query from Gajanan sir. Sir, please suggest any one topic for research in failure analysis
Failure
of machine
analysis of machine
components.
components is a topic. What do you mean one topic? Okay, let's choose a machine component, a shaft. Okay, so the shaft can fail. How can it fail? The torque may be too big, the lateral load may be too big, alignment problem may be there, gears may be there, and the gear teeth may break, or the shaft, if it is spinning very fast, may whirl and then it may do something. Okay, so these are 5 different things. You pick shaft whirl. When you look at shaft whirl, again, there are many things. You open a rotordynamics book, it is as fat as my head. Okay, so you read that. Now within that there are so many things, right? You want to look at another machine component. Okay, let us look at bearings. Okay, bearings are many types. There is ball bearing, deep groove ball bearing, double row ball bearing, cylindrical roller bearing, tapered bearing, and so on. Right? Okay. Now you look at bearing. How do bearings fail? All right. Maybe the clearance is a little bit high. Maybe the load is a bit high. Maybe some lubrication failure is there. Maybe the load is too high. Maybe you will measure vibration signatures, and over 100 hours you will measure, and slowly the vibration will be increasing, and you will predict how long the bearing will last. Okay, so you can do that. Choose a different machine component. So it's like this. When you say failure analysis of a machine component, there are so many machines, there are so many components. They all fail if you load them enough. And then I again repeat, the aim of the research is what it does to you, not what you give. The output of the research is not so important. In academic research, it changes you, it makes you a better thinker, a clearer thinker, a better analyst, and then you go out and you are able to do useful things for others. I hope that's okay. Someone said comment on using undergraduates for research. You can use undergraduates for research, but I think that their involvement has to be for 2-3 years. If you take a second year student and you just tell them, they will, they may not be able to do much. If you don't mind my sharing once again, I will show you. So here, let me again go to Firefox. Let me this. I wish I could move this. Oh, this I can do this and move it down here. Let me take this. Let me go to my web page is here. That's my web page. On my web page, let's see, miscellaneous things, mathematics. So here I have some 50 problems, right? And I have given partial answers to these problems. You see, so partial answers are there. This document I have prepared. And undergraduates who come and tell me they want to work with me, I tell them you solve 40 out of these 50 problems, then we'll see.
Thank you so much, sir. Now we have unmuted Mr. Sasi Bhusan. Mr. Sasi Bhusan, do you have any query? Mr. Sasi?
Shashi Bhushan sir. Hello.
Dr. Lingesh BV. Dr. Lingesh.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So my question is, so for the research project, academic research project, so initially we set some desired output. So in the process, if we fail to get the desired output, so what will happen to that project funding or the, can you please elaborate on this, sir?
Okay. See, industrial and academic are different.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in industry, if you say that you will build a bridge across the river,
Yes.
then you cannot build a boat. You have to build a bridge. Right? You will say that you will build a bridge, span will be this much, width will be this much, height will be this much, you will submit drawings, then you will build. That's an industrial project. Academic projects are different. So in academic projects, if you say something in advance, like I will prove this theorem, then it is binary. Either you will prove it or you will not prove it, right? But on the other hand, if you say I will study how performance degrades in this kind of machinery when dimensional tolerances are poorer, so then some performance degradation will be there. You will get some answer, right? So the way I think of it when I work with my students is that there is a higher goal. If that works, then it is best. If that doesn't happen, something else should be there so that the thesis is still saved. And if that does not work, then after 2 years, PhD is proceeding, sometimes 3 years, sometimes, we are very unhappy. Then we say, you know what, we have to walk away from this. Then we choose a safer problem so that the student still graduates. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, Mr. Gaurav Kumar. Gaurav, we have unmuted you. Last session also, yes. Yeah, Gaurav.
Yes, I want to ask that what is the trajectory of mechanical engineering, because there are a lot of changes over the years in the technology and artificial intelligence, and we see the machines are going, they are getting older before their time. So, sir, what is the future of the mechanics for the mechanical engineering?
Um, I hope you will agree that I have made very safe predictions. Right? So I have said that people who are 20 years old now, most of them will be alive at age 45. People who are 55 years old now, many of them will die before age 80. I've said things like this. Right? You want me to say what is the future of mechanical engineering? Who knows? Is mechanics going away? I don't think so. Right? You look around you, everything is mechanical and electrical, then chemical. So, for example, you look at Indian Railways. Indian Railways, when I was teaching in IIT Kharagpur, they came and they said, because Mamata Banerjee was then railway minister, you see, so she was starting Center for Railway Research in IIT Kharagpur. And then they said that we have aging bridges, Indian Railways. We have aging bridges and we want to know about the state of health. So, of course, we have too many bridges. We have 1,37,000 bridges. You cannot monitor them all. But we have identified a smaller number of important bridges. That number is 11,374. Now, can IIT Kharagpur take this project? It can't, right? And people do sort of silly things and they think that they can solve this problem. But it is a civil engineering problem. Let me give you an example of a mechanical/civil problem. Right? So they are having wheel gauge widening. Indian Railways, you think of the number of trains that are running, the number of kilometers, right? Very large number. They have some old bridge, more than 100 years old, built by the British. No drawings are available. Original material specification is not there. That bridge has been running for such a long time. But now on the other side, they are developing some mine further. So they are expecting to have heavier trains passing with a greater frequency. And they are looking for a mechanical engineer who can go and inspect the bridge and say whether it is safe for heavier trains passing more often. You think mechanical problems are not there, they are there, right? What are the two biggest problems of the future that we talk about? One is they're not artificial intelligence. The two biggest problems, energy and water. I hope you will agree, right? Going forward, energy and water. Water is fluid mechanics and environmental science. Water flow is hydraulics, so that's civil engineering. But mechanical impinges on that, right? And if you look at energy, energy generation is a very important part of mechanical engineering, right? So wind turbines, water turbines, steam turbines, boilers, thermodynamics, and then you look at cars and they're coming with electric vehicles. When electric vehicles come, what they are doing is they are having four-wheel independent steering and independent drive. But the dynamics changes, the control changes, right? So as a result, there is a lot of work for mechanical engineers. Batteries are overheating. That's a thermal analysis, you see. So so many things are there, right? So the world continues to be mechanical and electrical, right? Um, whether you will get a job or not is different matter. But if somebody gets a job, that person is likely to be the person who is stronger in the subject. You may choose to do something else. You may choose to become an entrepreneur and sell some tourism related service. Good luck to you. I have no problem with that. But if you want a career in engineering, in particular in the mechanical side, all I am saying is that you need to learn more, learn it better, think more clearly, and connect various things. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. I want to ask that some companies are, some industries are running their own. They don't need so much engineers and so much the people that required to
I agree.
running the company. So there are less task forces, less and less is going to need for a while. So, sir, this is the shrinking of the jobs in the engineering and the, mostly of the mechanical, because IT sector can overcome the jobs of the mechanical and such mechanical, electrical, and civil engineering.
No, it's more like see, traditionally, mechanical engineers used to do plant maintenance, plant operation, production lines, and things like that. Those jobs are still there. Maybe total volume, our manufacturing has not grown, right? China's manufacturing is very big. But those jobs, what has happened is there is a huge supply of mechanical engineers relative to the number of jobs that are there in those basic areas, low technology, operating the plant, operating the machine. So I think those salaries are low. IT, you have to see if you want to learn IT, that is fine. I am observing that the starting salary for IT jobs has not changed for more than 10 years. So I have my view on what that implies, but you can disagree with me and then you can do what you want. I've discussed these things in the book a little bit. I don't think that if you just graduate with reasonable marks and go to some company and tell them to hire you, you will get a very good job. If you're from average student from average college, I don't think that'll happen. But on the other hand, I also think that India is a very big country. There are many unmet needs. There are business models are emerging, and heat, fluid flow, movement of solids, deformation, stress, strain. This is a part of our interaction with the world, and not everything is to be. Not everything is presently there in the form of jobs which are being advertised by companies that exist. That's true. However, if you stick with mechanical, I think all I am saying is your chances, it doesn't matter what you do, whether you do mechanical, whether you do electrical, chemical, you go to IT, you do computer science, robotics, it doesn't matter. Your chances improve if you are a clearer thinker, if you are able to use principles from one subject to derive conclusions in another subject, things like that.
Good, sir. Now, I would like to invite Chatterjee sir for his initial remark related to the third session of this webinar based on the project ideas.
Yes, please. So I don't know how many people are in the other session. So there is over here some 200
Yes.
people are there. But there is another session which they are attending. Do you think, Dr.
Sir, there
Srivastava?
is this program is also live on YouTube. So around how
Sir,
much participants are there?
sir, 80 participants.
Sir, 80% right now
Okay,
on the
so some
YouTube channel
300
also, sir.
people are there, let us say. Okay. So thank you very much, all of you, for staying so long. The third part is what you can possibly do if you are not able to get, if you are not able to get a good project outside your college. So then you have to work inside your college, right? You have to work with your own faculty members, and you may be able to do something that is directly inside your college. You may be able to do something which is local with companies that are nearby, or you may be able to do something where you go into homes. One of the main shortages or shortcomings of our educational system is that what we learn in the classroom, we don't really interpret it in terms of things that happen in life. Okay, so I am trying to give you some ideas in that direction. So this is the last talk. It is also the shortest of the three. I hope you will find it interesting. Madam, maybe you can play that.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the third part of my presentations today. So this is the third presentation. And in this one, I will talk about project ideas and engineering in homes. The idea is that you may not be able to find a good project or internship outside your college with some company or a different institute or something with some research lab. In that case, how should you proceed? After all, AICT is affiliated with thousands of colleges, and each of those colleges has so many students, and many of them will not get good projects or internships outside. So, if you can't find a project outside your college, then clearly you must work within the framework of your own college. That is clear. Your own faculty members will guide you. They must. There is no one else then, because you're working inside your college. And in this, I suggest that there are three possibilities for you to think about and pursue. Okay? So, one is completely within your college. In this case, based on my age and understanding of these things, I will say prefer a teacher who is decent, helpful, and approachable. Right? I mean, um, teachers are like other people, right? Not all doctors are very friendly, not all teachers are very approachable. Some teachers in some colleges may actually be unpleasant people. It is not my job to comment on that, but prefer someone whose personality and character are going to help you. Because if the teacher cares about your growth, that is a really big thing. Be flexible in your interests. So, suppose you have read somewhere that robotics is a wonderful subject, or medical robotics is a wonderful subject, and you think, or control systems is a wonderful subject, or whatever it is, you're interested in that, but you're not interested in, let us say, um, finite element methods, or you're not interested in experimental characterization of vibration in some equipment, you're not interested. But the teacher who is decent, helpful, and approachable works in an area in which you think you are not interested. Then I would suggest to you that interest leads to activity, but activity also leads to interest. You see, so if you have a positive experience when you do some work, then your interest in doing more of similar work will increase, right? Interest leads to activity, activity leads to interest. Okay, so that is why you are not yet ready to be a specialist. Okay, so now there are many possible project topics that you can take, and just to give you a sense, just from my angle, I will say neural networks to predict the strengths of welds. So you will measure certain parameters from the weld, and then you will break it, and then you will see the strength, and then you will use some neural network. This is a perfectly legitimate bachelor's level project. Airflow measurement maps in rooms with ceiling fan. There is a table, there is some other furniture. What do you think is the average wind speed at different places in the room? If you stand there and look at it, you may think about it. And you may be able to construct a small project in power consumption of machine tools. It may not be clear to you, right? Or you may develop some intuition about fluid flow. If you do that, so then if you can get a flow meter of some kind, if you can get such a thing that you can hold at different places and slowly get move away, mount it, some way and move away, maybe you can do that. Maybe you can do a project in power consumption of machine tools. Maybe you can do energy audit for air conditioning in a building. This is a very common topic now. People are all concerned about energy. You can do something very traditional like fatigue tests of gear teeth. Um, this is typical academic work. There is something called Rayleigh-Bénard convection, but otherwise also convection studies in a bottom heated tank. You can do characterization of sintered materials. So there are various powders that are sort of heated and pressed together, and then they make some new solid material. And you may do experimental characterization strengths, and then you can cut it in various ways and look at flaws, and you can study the thermal properties. Or you can do something very traditional like failure of pipes under bending or twisting, etc., etc. So many possible project topics are there within your college. Find a professor or a lecturer or whatever it is who is interested in helping you, and then work sincerely, and it will be perfectly all right. There's no problem. Suppose you go outside your college but in the same region. Okay, so there are still many things that you can do. For example, if you have a contact in a good repair garage, for mechanical engineers, I think this is a fantastic opportunity. For example, my first PhD student, who is now my colleague in IIT Kanpur, he is a professor here, but he was my first PhD student. I used to teach in IISc at that time. I mean, he spent some time as an assistant to a car mechanic when he was in college. It's a great idea. Anyway, now suppose you do that, you can consider a study of different tasks and times. You don't want to come and say, my BTech project was that I was an assistant to a car mechanic. Not that. What you will do is you will see the tasks that the mechanic is taking, and you will study the times and the steps, but also you will make drawings of all the components, and you will comment on the design aspects of the components or systems that the mechanic is dealing with. And you have to help the mechanic and be humble so that he or she, there may be some lady mechanics also, if they will let you enter their garage, right? And I think that you will be transformed. It will be a fabulous experience for you. Or if you have a contact in a local small company, you can consider an energy audit. There are many books on energy audits. It's not my specialization, so I don't know, but there are people study this, and it's very important. A lot of small companies don't know how to monitor their energy and sort of make things more efficient, and you can be really useful to them. You may be able to contact local MSMEs, micro or small or medium enterprises, right? And then see if they have design tasks or they need cheap instrumentation with computerized data collection. So, small companies, sometimes just from sizing and things like that, they can design things. They are very experienced sometimes and very clever, but sometimes they may have a design task where you can help them, right? Or maybe they need some instrumentation with computerized data collection. Many small companies don't have the expertise for that, and you may be able to help them. So You may find NGOs working in the agricultural sector. This is something I've realized through conversations, not from direct work, but in the agricultural center, there are many interesting mechanical design or instrumentation problems. They are not very difficult. Someone needs to do them, and there is a very direct impact on the ground. Okay, or you can request the head of your college, your principal, or your director to contact local industries for invited lectures. So you can't only a few, but maybe senior people in those companies can come and give an invited lecture and tell you about the sort of things that they do. And then there will be a question and answer session, and your professors may also discuss things with them for a few minutes. And then after that, you may find that there is a new project idea, which you then, you talk to them maybe a little bit over social media, WhatsApp or email or something, but your professor guides you and you do some project. When you finish, you send a copy of your thesis or project report. In this way, you may be able to reach out to people in the same region. Okay. Suppose you can't do that, then there is the possibility of doing something in the local community. And it is for this that I'm suggesting the name engineering in homes. Personally, I think that this is really important. Of course, my thinking it and your doing it are different. You have to decide whether you want to do it. But I think it is important because in India we have one problem which we need to tackle, which is that our classroom education and our lives, these are separate. We have to understand that when we study engineering, it applies not merely in some factory, or it is not merely some way to get a grade card and get a job, but it is actually to change the way in which we think about objects, about systems, about machines. When if you study mechanical engineering, the way you look at a chair, the way you look at a shoe, the way you look at a pressure cooker, everything should change. So there is engineering in homes, and our engineering education is in the classroom, but applications are everywhere. Okay, so engineering education, not just software, we have to go into people's homes. These projects can be experimental studies. They can be low-cost design and fabrication projects. You can, invite your faculty members to also watch this YouTube video later if it is available, or you can discuss it with them and sort of evolve a mechanism so that you can do it as a BTech project. If I was evaluating, I would be happy. Okay, so if I can't evaluate all of you, but what I'm saying is if one of my students wanted to do a project like this, I would say, okay, provided the volume of work is all right and you're learning something and you're helping something, it's a good endeavor and it should be documented properly. And whichever is the home in which you're doing some work, I suggest you should get a certificate from them, some letter saying that they appreciate what you have done. I think that's quite nice. Okay, so now I will offer some suggestions to indicate to you what sort of thing I have in mind. But I'm quoting my friend Shoma Mukherjee, who is a professor in IIT Bombay. He says here, but I think it's a really nice line in this context. Let your project not be limited by my imagination. I am making some suggestions, but you can think about other things. Okay, so here are my suggestions. Project idea one. Many homes have rooms with one window only, and in the night, the door has to be shut because people have to sleep. When I was a child, I slept in such a room. And because there is no cross ventilation, the room gets very hot. In the summer, the night outside, becomes cooler after some time, the air cools down. But there is no cross ventilation, and the room is hot all the way into the morning when you finally wake up. Okay. Now I realize that you can design a low cost air duct system with a small AC. So the fan is near the window and it is putting the exhaust out, and the intake end of the duct can be far from the window inside the room. So it will take the air from there, maybe near the ceiling. So it is high, it is taking the hotter air, and you are not tripping over it and kicking it with your feet or something. And the ducting can be cheap. So some of you may have seen very cheap air ducts, for example, used for for kitchen chimneys, some you may have seen that, or just some piping. It doesn't matter. It does not have to be very strong. The issue is there has to be some flexible part which you have to design so that it can be near the window. Someone should be able to keep it there and remove it so that they can shut the window if they want. All of that you have to figure out how to design it. So it has to be easily deployable using the window. The intake end of the duct can be far from the window. And then you can do some technical things so that your professor is happy. You're not just some jugaad design and you walk away, not like that, but you estimate and measure the flow rate, you standardize the design, you make nice drawings, you keep the cost low. And if it works and people are happy, maybe you can get your college to sponsor some X% of the cost, 20% of the cost or something. Then people may be interested in that, and your college principal may also be happy because some work from the college is reaching the community. Right? Now, you want to decide what to measure so that you can monitor air quality or temperature changes over some hours. So, in the night, if you turn it on, does the air actually become cooler compared to when you don't turn it on? How are you going to prove that statistically? What analysis will you do? Take feedback from people on usability. Are they finding it easy to use? What happens in summer? What happens in winter? In winter, you may not want this, right? You don't want cold air from outside coming in. So, how will it be packed away? How will it be put aside? Can you just wrap it up and put it in a suitcase and take it out next summer? All of that you have to think about, and then you document everything. I think this is a perfectly good project idea. I think you can do it in 10 homes because each time the circumstance will be different. 10 students can do it. You can compare notes. And then after that, people will also learn that students from your college have come and helped them. They're sleeping more comfortably on summer nights. Okay, so that's one. Let's go to project idea 2. I live in North India. I live in Kanpur and it's very cold in the winter. This winter is little less cold than some other winters, but still it's typically very cold. Right? So now, can you make approximately 20 centimeter by 20 centimeter a heating pad, by which I mean electrically insulated wires inside cloth, some 10 watts of power with buttons or hooks or some velcro so that you can attach it inside a jacket near you. If you look in medicine shops or on the net, you will find that there are heating pads that are powered from AC mains, which people use to, heat their backs if they have backache or something. But that is a high degree of heat. I don't mean that. I mean only 10 watts. Why do I mean 10 watts? Because for the human body, 10 watts is quite a bit. The human body's average power consumption, if you calculate, will be something like 110 or 120 watts. So 10 watts is 10%. It's quite a lot. Okay. So in the winter time, if you put it inside the jacket, then how do you power it? You can power it with a phone power bank. See, these are now 2000 rupees or something, not that expensive. And the power bank can be inside the jacket so that there is no heat loss at all, or it can be in an outside pocket of the jacket with some wiring that you have to set up and some clip and things like that, some plug. Okay, you have to make it easy to attach and detach. You must make it rugged, you must make it safe. It's only 10 watts, but of course if there is a local hotspot, then there may be a fire, right? So you have to design it so that the heat is uniformly generated over a large distance. And then who will use this? Old people can use it, grandparents, they can put it inside their jacket and then or coat, and then they can sit somewhere. Sick people can use it. Security guards on night duty can use it. And you see, because it is a phone power bank, they can walk around and they will just have this little extra bit of heating and they will feel very much better. So there are customers, right? Now you have to study design aspects, you have to get user feedback, you have to optimize cost. This must be removable because the jacket may be going for washing. It must be removable because if security guards are using it, then when the guard comes on duty, he will have it issued to him, and if in the winter he will return it. Maybe the power banks can all be charged in some central security office. You see, so there is a possibility, right? Night duty sentries and security guards can use it, and it is a low cost, highly repeatable design. Okay, document everything. So that's one project idea. Here is another project idea. Again, many places in North India are cold in the winter. Can you make a 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter? That is 1 foot by 1 foot heating pad with electrically insulated wires, 15 to 30 watts power. So this one is more power with some velcro velcro or some such, so that it can be used on a sofa. See, this is different now. Now what happens here is you can put it on the backrest, and then your back is warm when you sit and you have a blanket on your lap. Or you can even put it on the seat part and sit on it, and then of course your backside will be warm, you know. Now you power it using some DC which is obtained from AC mains. Okay, so that all the electricity over here is at very low voltage. Make it nice to look at, make it rugged, make it safe, no local hotspots. Who will use it? Students studying at night in their hostel. They will stay warm without using a blower, which is, 2 kilowatts or 1 kilowatt, right? People watching TV may just like to be very warm as they are watching TV, right? And just for 20, 30 watts, right? Old people, your own grandparents may appreciate having that when they are sitting there against their back. It will be warm. It is like sitting in the daytime with your back to the sun, but it is night and they are sitting there and they are comfortable. Okay, so you study design aspects, you get user feedback, you think about what colors you can use. You can customize it so that someone can take it and put it inside a cloth sleeve that they make, which will match their sofa. You optimize the cost, you document everything, right? How much power is actually needed, what do customers say, are they happy with it, how long does it last, is it that if you sit on it and move a bit the wire is breaking. These are things you have to figure out. Okay, so that's project 3. Here is number 4. Many people in India cook rice every day, right? So typically what they do is they put dry rice in water, then they heat it, then the water boils. Very common. Millions and millions of homes they are doing it. So what is the energy consumption? Can you estimate it? How much energy is actually going into the rice, and how much energy is going out past the container, and how much is going into the container and just boiling off as a latent heat in steam, right? So I am sure that it is quite inefficient. But suppose the rice is pre-soaked. Suppose it becomes common culture that in the night, whoever cooks, maybe usually a lady in the house cooks, but whoever cooks, suppose they soak the rice in the night in water. When we make rajma and chana, we soak it, but we don't soak the rice normally, right? In the south, people eat a lot of rice based things where the rice and dal are soaked and ground, but for cooking rice normally I think it is not pre-soaked. But suppose we pre-soak it, then we put it in and heat it until the water just begins to boil. That extended period of boiling for 10 to 15 minutes, 20 minutes sometimes, is not needed. And then you cover the pot and you wrap it in a towel and you leave it for about 10 minutes. So wrapping it in a towel keeps the heat in, it stays hot enough, and then the rice becomes soft. Okay, will it still be cooked? Will the taste be okay? What is the energy consumption now? I think you may stop 10 minutes of gas flame, right? But if you multiply that by 100 million homes, can you think about how much energy consumption will occur? Much less. Many saving, great savings. Can you get 25 homes to participate in such a study? Can you get feedback from them, document how they were doing it, take pictures? Can you standardize the process? Can you get a local TV station and newspaper to cover your results? If you document everything and you get some local press, who knows? In 5 years' time, maybe in school children's science books this will be mentioned. And then in another 15 years' time, when those school children are cooking rice, maybe they will cook it like this. And then you will have had a huge impact on India. Okay? Let's think of project idea number 5. Many homes have hot sunshine on their rooftops in the summer in India, right? So the house gets hot. Painting the roof white lowers the temperature in the house. This is known. Okay. Can you get 25 homes to participate in a study? So let us say you start in mid-March when it is just beginning to get hot. You have a standard plan and you will continue through April and May. Okay. Now you measure temperatures outside and inside for 1 week. Okay, and you note down which day is clear, which day is cloudy, were doors and windows open or closed. You keep track of that, and you have to measure temperatures many times through the day, right, for 1 week. Okay, let's say you do that. Then you paint 5 rooftops, and measure temperatures again for 1 week. So you see, during this time, outside temperatures have also maybe slowly increased, but inside temperatures, what is the trend? And then before and after, you can do some analysis and see. You can read about statistical analysis and statistical modeling, regression model for that. There will be a binary model, binary variable for painted versus not painted, outside temperature, inside temperature, and you will be able to get some data like that. Okay. Let us say you start another 2 weeks, then another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks. In this way, you finish 5 cycles. That will take 5 cycles will take 10 weeks, right? 2.5 months, and you have finished 25 homes. You analyze the data, you document your findings. Maybe if it is very interesting or powerful or compelling or clear, you can get some media coverage, right? Here is another one. Water is precious. Many homes have washing machines for clothes. How much water is used per cycle? Can you measure it? See, there is an exhaust, there is a drainage pipe in a bucket. In that case, it may not drain easily. Right? So you have to think about how you will do it. Maybe you can raise the washing machine a little bit and put it on some high stool just for some purposes. Or maybe you can do it in such a way where the drain pipe sort of goes out of a veranda and then you collect it in a bucket downstairs. You have to think about it. If the washing machine is upstairs and you're able to sort of let it drain into a bucket and you have to change the bucket and so on, how will you do it? So how will you measure the water? How does the water consumption change with different wash cycles, short versus long? If the clothes are pre-soaked for 1 hour and then the same water is used, the soaking water is put in with the first load, is the shortest cycle enough for cleaning? So this is a tricky one, right? Because how dirty were the clothes? How many clothes were there? So you have to standardize it, right? You have to get buy-in from the customer. And when you do this, how much water is saved? Can you get 25 homes to participate? You need a standard plan, you need buy-in from homeowners, you need statistical analysis, and you can think about it and see. It will give an idea of how much water is being used by washing machines in a day. You can have standardized tests, but the actual fact, the reality in homes, it is good to know. It is perfectly reasonable work, in my opinion. So that's project idea 6, just an idea. Okay, project idea 7. Many Indian homes have mosquitoes. These mosquitoes can cause illness, right? Every year, right now we are all worried about coronavirus, but dengue fever kills a lot of people, right? Now, malaria is now considered a mild disease, right? Chikungunya is also very dangerous. So, one way for mosquitoes to enter is through gaps in doors and windows, even when the doors and windows are shut. In some houses, the windows have wire screens, but there are still gaps. Between the window frame, so when you shut it, there is still a small gap, and mosquitoes come from there. Okay, can you find a reliable and cheap way to block these gaps? See, you can't say go and put wool and sponge and block it, right? It's not the who will put it. How reliable is it? Will it keep coming out, right? Then the method must work under dimension changes in the wooden items. See, if the doors are wooden, in that case, monsoon versus dry season, there is a change in size. At the top of the door, the clearance is 1 mm. At the bottom of the door, the clearance is 4 mm. It must allow for that. You can put some packing material, in those gaps, but I think you can consider, but I think the packing material can be brush like to allow for some annual variation, like think about uh, some fuzzy type of material, some brush like material. How will you attach it? Will it come on a tape? This material should last for 2 to 3 years, right? If you put it and then 3 weeks later it falls off, no homeowner will replace it. Can you find such a low cost solution? Can you implement it and prove it? I took help from a young man once and I said, can you try this? But he did not understand this brush like part and he brought a fairly stiff material. So what happens is first time, second time it works, but then that material gets a bit compressed and then after that it doesn't really work anymore. So how reliable can you make it? You discuss it with homeowners, you discuss it with your faculty, you discuss what is available, you find the right answer, you implement in a few homes. I think it is a really good project. Okay, and the homeowner will tell you, yes, this is reliable. tell you whether the incidence of mosquitoes in the house, the density of mosquitoes has gone down. You may save lives. Okay. All right. 8. Indian homes are very different from Western homes. In what ways? Well, we have more people per home, we have less money per home. I think on average that is true. Okay. Indian furniture designs have started changing only recently. So now, there is Pepper Fry and they are sending some ads and some furnitures coming. That's true. But if you look at IKEA, they have many beautiful furniture designs that you can learn from. I don't want you to copy them because our homes are different. Can you design new furniture items which are suited for Indian lower income group type of homes? Right? Now, you look at those homes and the furniture there has probably not changed for 40 years, right? The beds are the same, the drawers are the same, the cupboards are the same. But maybe there can be new types of furniture that is suited for these homes, right? You have to survey homeowners and get their agreement, and you talk to carpenters and see that the design you are proposing is manufacturable and the cost is, reasonable, and you can do 3D color renderings using computers. And because you're engineering students, you can do that with nice lighting and so on. And then you can prepare a catalog of your designs. And then maybe someone will take it, or maybe just when you show that catalog, you'll get a good job with some design company, right? So that's another idea. That's the last idea. Okay, so engineering in homes, these are my final comments. There are many, many other possibilities. Let your project not be limited by my imagination. Please remember, an engineering student project should have some degree of these things: technical content, originality, independence, contribution to the subject or to society, some volume of work, and quality of reporting. There are many potential projects in and around homes. If you engage in this way, both you and society will benefit. All right, thank you for your attention. If you want to see my web page, you can search on Google for, with my name and with IIT, you will find it.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a nice presentation. Now, I again request the participant, if you have any query, please raise your hand. Shashi Bhushan ji.
Thank you.
Shashi Bhushan sir, do you have any query? Dr. Deepan Kumar sir.
B double.
Yes, you are audible.
हाँ नहीं उसको
नहीं सर आपका हेल्प लगेगा उसमें
मेल करना होगा अभी अभी
Shashi Bhushan sir. Bhushan sir, do you have any query? Dr. Lingesh ji. Hello. So we receive one query from Hilal Ahmed sir. Can we do research on properties of microparticles and manipulate their properties in mechanical engineering?
Why not? So there is a sound problem. Is it just in mine, or can you hear me?
Audible.
I am audible.
Yes, sir.
Uh, so, when you look at particles and how they behave, particulate materials are definitely studied in mechanical engineering, also in materials departments, also sometimes in other departments, but they can be studied. Yes.
Any query from the participant?
Someone said that he will or she will send me email. I was not able to read carefully. I will have one request. If you send me email as a result of today's interaction, put AICTE in the subject line, because then I will know that it is related to this, because otherwise I may lose the email. I hope you can hear me. So if you send me email, if you write AICTE in the subject line, I will know that it is somehow related to this session that we have had today. Thank you.
Sir, one query from Devjit Das, sir. How to study
Yes.
mechanical engineering efficiently? there is a huge sea of knowledge, and at every point, there are certain doubts left, solving which limited time is lost.
Um, it is a long process. So one has to give it years. In 4 years, you learn something, then you go and do something, you put yourself in a situation where you're not fully comfortable. Then you learn some new things and you keep learning, right? So there is the last two chapters of my book. I talk about some years later. I don't have a copy of the book. I have a copy of the book here. Let me just see what it is called. Some years later, yes. So one chapter is called Some Years Later, a Network of Insights, and one is called Some Years Later, a Philosophy of Engineering Design, right? And that is because basically this you cannot do while you are in college. There is just too much information. If you think about children, when they are born, they don't know anything about any words or anything. Then slowly they learn language, they learn more than one language, they learn so many words in that language, isn't it? It's a matter of time. If you are patient and if you are, see, if you are friends, whether you are patient or not, 15 years will pass. In those 15 years, if you are more connected and you are more curious and you are more alert and you are more interested in learning than your friends, then after 15 years, there will be heaven and earth difference between you and your friends, right? I hope that's
So one query from Prathamesh sir. Sir, we have unmuted you. Please ask your query.
Am I?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes. Thanks for the great lecture for arranging this such a seminar. Sir, I wanted the one question. Uh, I have completed my MTech and I have 5 years of work experience in pressure vessel design industries. Uh,
okay.
One thing just I wanted to know that, sir, basically I have done the MTech because I have interest in the research area. But now I have joined the industry and I got 5 years of experience. But during that, basically my industry is design, manufacturing the pressure vessel as per the ASME code. But I have one question to you, sir. Whenever we have completed these 7 years of technical rounds, and that knowledge will not be utilized in industries, then it will be hard for us that because we are totally depend on the ASME code, and that code hasn't included in our educational area. Only the basic concept has introduced. So whether we have to follow the only the code, then why we have spent this 7 or 8 years in technical fields?
Well, when we were graduating from our college in my time, a student said, "We have not been taught about gas turbines." And Professor Joshi M. Das, he was a foundry professor, he was a very interesting person. He said, "You have learned how to learn. So you will, tomorrow if you work for gas turbine research establishment, you will start from basics. You will say, what is a gas, what is a turbine, and then you will learn." So that is one part of the answer is you have to learn like this. But there is another part. You know, since you said pressure vessels, but actually ASME has many codes. And for thin shell design, there is an ASME. There are ASME codes, I think. I'm not an expert. But my PhD student is from Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research. I have a PhD student from there. And they use a French code called RCCMR and for shell buckling, and there is one clause in that is dangerous, and after a lot of struggle we have managed to publish an article explaining that that clause is dangerous. So why is this relevant? It's relevant because if Ashok, my student, if he was not thinking about it, then that dangerous clause would have been left, and that clause would have been used to design dangerous structures which may then have been deployed in a nuclear reactor, you see. So um, my what I am trying to say is that you have your basic degree, then you use the code. You may say that in using the code, you are not using your degree, but actually society has put the code there because if 100 different analysts are doing 100 different analyses, it is impossible to check whether they are competent, whether they are doing the right thing or not. But even when you are using the code, your understanding of the code, your understanding of how to adapt the code when something changes. For example, the code may be for spherical or cylindrical or axisymmetric geometries, or it may not allow something beyond a certain temperature. But you have an application which is 40 degrees or 50 degrees higher temperature, or there is, there is some appendage, so it is not perfectly cylindrical. And then you are still looking at the code and you're trying to learn. And at that time, you are not just a clerk implementing some calculation um, in the code. I hope this is clear. Is
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, one query from Dr. Ninglesh V. What is design thinking? Is it possible to start project in this?
There are design departments now, and there are mechanical department and other department faculty who are part of design programs. IIT Kanpur has a design program. It has become a department, I think, now. IIT Bombay has a design department. And in fact, placements are very good there. And what I have been told is that design thinking is a slightly different kind of thinking. So there are people who study design as undergraduates and then they come in and they do very well in the master's program. But people who come from engineering have to struggle for a while before their thinking changes and they become better at this kind of design thinking. One of the professors told me that. And what he told me is that of the different departments, streams of engineering, the mechanical engineering students find it easiest. So in some way, there is something about mechanical which is apparently, it seems, according to that professor, it seems that it is well suited to design thinking so that they can make the transition more easily. You can start a project in almost anything, right? As I've been saying, you can do a project in ball bearing life, you can do rotor work, you can do, artificial intelligence for robot welding. So why would you not be able to do a project in design thinking? You will be able to do it. You have to find a professor, you have to read the literature, you have to read some books, you have to find some area where you are interested, where you think you have something to say. And in engineering, what happens is usually you will find some angle or some approach or some problem or some solution or some interpretation that is somewhat new, right? So then it is possible to start a project. I don't see why not. I am not a design engineering professor, or design thinking professor, so I cannot tell you, but there is no reason to not do that. Okay. Someone says they have a child studying in IIT Kanpur. Can that child do a project in mechanical? Tell the child to send me an email, please.
So it's a very enlightening to listen your thoughts, views on different aspects covering from the your book about your book, then project ideas, and especially the project idea engineering in homes. I just want to inform one of the little announcement to all of you. AICT has also entered an MOU with Mytech Canada, where every year we are sending 300 B or BTech third year student to Canada for a 12 weeks internship program. It's a 12,000 Canadian dollar fully paid internship program. So all those students who are right now in second year and part of this webinar today or the first year. So if you are in second year in July 2022, you may apply online for MyTech's internship program. It's a very prestigious internship program, and you got an opportunity to work in Canadian University under the guidance of Canadian professors. And one of the biggest advantage that if you are planning to, go for your career in the research area, this internship will help you out, especially when you go for the higher studies in the US and Canada for your MS program. So I request all of you to kindly apply for MyTech's internship program next year in July 2022. There are lots of videos which had been uploaded by our earlier interns. They are also working as a volunteer. They are supporting the the first year, second year students also. So you do drop us a query if you have anything about this, so that we can also connect you with a volunteer how to prepare your project proposal. Because one detailed project proposal to be submitted along with the recommendations letter when you apply for this internship program. So I request you to kindly do prepare for this internship program in next 6 months so that you may apply it in the July 2022. So this is all from my side, and thank you very much. I request Sanju to propose a formal vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. On behalf of AICTE, I feel immense pleasure to propose vote of thanks on this event. I want to express my sincere gratitude to Dr. Banerjee, sir, for sparing his valuable time for this event and guided us in various ways. Thank you so much, sir. We have received so many thanking messages on our YouTube channel and in our WebEx room. They are giving you thanks for such a webinar, sir.
Thank you
Thank you
very
so much,
much.
sir.
Thank you very much. It is my pleasure and my honor to meet with so many young, interested, interesting people. They have their future ahead of them. If I can even put one small idea in their head which helps them, it is, it's my good fortune that I'm in a position to do that. Thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much for your time. Thank you to all the faculty member students who are with us till this time. It's a very long session, especially from the online point of view. But still, the
Yes.
45 attendees are there. So I really appreciate your, time and commitment to be part
Thank
of
you.
this session. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Shall I stop video and mute now? Can I
Yeah.
leave the meeting?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone. Thank you, all the attendees. Thank you, AICTE personnel. Thank you all. Bye bye.
And thanks to Manali, Brajmohan, Sandeep also for their work. Thank you.